alleges that there are people falsified results, then you have no crime. So again, it is the amending of our laws to ensure that, political parties and candidates in an election can take civil action against electoral officers who falsify results. So if it's not a criminal action this time, but you go and said, I could have won this election if not for what Patrick did. So I'm, charging Patrick for breach of trust, for not performing a duty of care in managing the result, and I am claiming damages.
Okay.
So the person becomes personally liable for the damages. And I think our laws need to be amended to include civil action.
Now, again, I'm really focusing on the practical here, right? Yes. You've been in government for, I almost said forever, but you've been in government for a long time, post your private sector work. You understand the inner workings of the executive. You also understand the inner workings of the legislature for, various reasons, and also the judiciary. How do we navigate this? So we've seen now that if we can change this law from a federal offense to a state offense or whatever else, it gives us the opportunity for NGOs, civil society organizations to engage these individuals, not the institution now, but the individuals. And we can create that narrow corridor, right? Where government knows that there are people watching and we can have that contestation. How do we navigate that? Why would the National Assembly pass such a law if they are direct beneficiaries of this system that is broken? How do we change the incentive system to get them to do it within this assembly?
So, you see, the problem in Nigeria when it comes to electoral reforms have not been the legislature. Actually, our legislators have done so well every time in writing laws. Then our judiciary will suddenly now, find a loophole and escape from the law. So if we propose, as I'm proposing to them, and I'm engaging the National Assembly, to say, you all are politicians. So criminal offenses require you to get a fiat from the Attorney General. It requires the Attorney General to prosecute, or we can mandate INEC to prosecute. But if INEC is working in tandem with their agents, they will not prosecute. So why don't we create a civil option? We can take a civil suit against them and say these people conspired, damage the process. So we can get fines. And if the judiciary is serious, they will impose very strong fines against them so that the people will know that, it's costly to go and tamper with election results. So I think we can build that coalition. I've been proposing that we build, one of the challenges in Nigeria today is the despair and the feeling of people that nothing can be done.
Exactly.
That feeling is a very dark one. So I have come up with the idea that we need to build a coalition of hope. A coalition of hope of those who think that Nigeria can still work. I don't think there is anything wrong with Nigeria as constituted. I just think that we have a software code that needs to be recoded. It is designed, the design is a problem. It is designed as a distributional state. It's not designed as a developmental state. So if we can redesign, and it doesn't have to happen in one go. It doesn't have to happen in one go. That's why I'm going to read the tax bill carefully before commenting on it. And then
but you have to comment, even if you haven't read it, because that's a question I have. Because I think we're seeing that, redevelopment of that software code, with the tax bill. That President ENUGU has really taken on the key elephant in the room, to say that the way we collect our resources as a people and distribute it could be the reason why we are unproductive. We should go back to getting people to eat what they kill. And if you can't kill it, then unfortunately you will die. And if you don't want to die, then you do something to fix it. So although you haven't read it, I need you to comment on the philosophy of it.
So that's what I'm saying. I cited it as an example of the possibility of realigning the code. And we may not achieve it in one go. I think nations are work in progress. It's a case of push and pull to keep inching towards the success. What I haven't seen is the philosophical redefinition You see, when this president changed the national anthem, I've been in the vanguard of the call for the old national anthem. I've always believed we should go back to it. So when he went back to it, everybody was happy. I was happy, but I was sad. Because I didn't think it should be smuggled back into Nigeria through the National Assembly. I thought it should have been the subject of a robust national debate. So that when we say those words, it will have meaning to us. When we say to build a nation where no man is oppressed, it will be a mantra for the new Nigeria. I thought he would have given us the opportunity to canvass why we want to build a nation that we will keep a banner without stain and hand it over to the next generation. When we say that though tribes and tongues may differ, in brotherhood we stand, it will have meaning. Just singing it will not create it. It will have been a question of saying, let's rethink ourselves. This is a diverse Black nation, a home for all, a nation where we give opportunities for everybody to grow. That is why I have cited the example somewhere that a governor can go and pay $700,000 to an American international school for his children to go to the school over the next 10 years. And didn't see that the joke was on him, that you finished running a state and you couldn't build a school that your children could go to. So, and the fact that you could pay an international school in the country, let's even say you don't want to build it in Kogi, why didn't you build a school in Abuja where your children can go to? So, and I just opposed him as a governor, Governor Yahaya Bello of Kogi, with a businessman in Anambra called Ernest Azudialo, who is the founder of Next Oil, who went to Okija, his village, and built a Jesuit Loyola college called Gonzaga. This is his private money. But he thought that the children of Okija needed to be given an opportunity to get to where he is. He decided that of all the efforts he has made, one of the things that can uplift the people of Okija is to give them quality education. And this has not only given Okija, it has now attracted children from a diverse background from around the country to come to Gonzaga in Okija. He didn't stop there. He built a pediatric hospital built by Julius Berger in Okija. This is a private individual. Now, a governor, on the other hand, because of the distributional nature of Nigeria, decided that what was good for his children was not good for the children of Kogi. He decided that his children should go to an American international school, while the children of Kogi languish in schools without roof, without chairs. So this is the kind of things that when you see, you now see that there is need for philosophical reset and for redesigning. So the tax bill, when I read it, we're going to come out as a center to comment on the tax bill, but we fundamentally agree that Nigeria's source codes need to be, rejigged. And if we rejig it, it will go a long way in helping us to begin to realize our potential.
Exactly. And in a few minutes, we'll open it up for audience participation. I urge you to please type your questions in the Q&A tab. I will read them out, but I'll give full attribution, to whomever put the questions there. But before we get to that, Ikobosi, the title of this our talk is The Trouble with Nigeria and What We Can Do About It. Can you crystallize for me in bullet points, in your view, what are these core troubles or problems we have in Nigeria? And what are the elements of the solution? Obviously, the elements can be arranged in whatever form, but what are the elements that must be in place for us to begin to fix Nigeria?
So, number one is that I've said it. There's a design problem. A design problem in Nigeria that we need to fix. We need to fix the design problem. And the reason why I keep talking about this design problem is that a state that is designed as a distributional state will not have the institutions to become a development state. Because like I said, the governor is thinking of what will be good for his children. And he's not thinking about how that will save the children of Kogi. Because like I said, he's in a distributional state. So we need to figure out how to redesign Nigeria. And in redesigning Nigeria, we have to understand that nothing is wrong with Nigeria. Nigeria is not an exceptional state. Nigeria is working. I want to tell the young people every time, the country is working. And I'll give you an example. You go to University of Nigeria, Nsukka, the hostels are overcrowded. The school is dirty. The generator is not working. There's no running water in it. Students go to school every day and study medicine. Their school fees is 150,000 naira a year. That's about less than $100, $80 a year. Then they finish. Maybe you give the child 100,000 every month. So by the time he finishes 1 year of 9 months, he has spent 900,000, 1 million, which is less than $600, about $600, $700 a month, a year. Then he does it for 6 years. We're talking about $3,000+ for 6 years to educate him through Nsukka medicine.
Swap it up to $5,000.
He finishes from Nsukka with $5,000. He writes the board exam in California, and then he becomes a board-certified doctor in California. To train an American in the medical school is minimum of $300,000 for the low-end schools, $700,000 for the high-end schools. And yet, the Nigerian doctors are sought after across Nigeria, the Western world, whether in the UK or in the US. So what do we need to do? Any sensible country will be thinking about how do we improve our capacity to keep building manpower? Because this is something that we have capacity to do. Nigerians are complaining. Nigerian computer engineers, a Nigerian company called MoneyPoint just got $1 billion valuation a month ago. 50% of the Western funds that come into Africa end up in Nigerian companies looking for. So if the Americans are here looking for returns in investing in early stage companies in Nigeria, please, don't tell me Nigeria is not working. Don't tell me that. So what needs to work is that the redesign of Nigeria, the expansion of our market capacity, the ability to move our politics from a distributional politics to a development politics by first making our elections credible and allowing the people to determine their leadership. Part of that design challenge for me is that we must do away with second term in office in Nigeria till we calm down. Let people stop using public finances in the office to get themselves a second term. So we need to figure out and give ourselves a transition period. It's work in progress. We can do it. So that our leaders can come and focus on development. Don't use our 4 years to build things that will give you a second term that have no value to the state. We don't have such time. Since the democracy started in 1999, we've had 25 years now. And the children that were born there have left university.
Okay, Ikobosi, yes. Didn't Jonathan propose this? You know, Jonathan proposed a single term 6 years, but it did not fly. Why didn't it fly, and what's going to be different this time?
Why it didn't fly is because everybody suspected that Jonathan wanted to use it to extend his own stay. So first of all, the president that will push it has to say, you know, I'm on my second term, for instance, so I'm not eligible to run again. So I'm not running again. So we need to do this because we just need to get a broad elite consensus. When we define the meaning of Nigeria, then our institutional design will be to begin to make it possible for Nigeria to thrive. We need to begin to make it possible for Nigeria to thrive. And part of the ways to make it to thrive is that the institutions will reflect our national hopes and aspirations. So when we say we want an educational system that will produce 1 million people over the next 10 years that have this type of skills, then every state can key in into that vision. Every private and public universities can key in. When we say that we want a situation where our production of oil, our national resources, will come not anymore from just selling oil, but from our capacity to, not just from selling oil, but from our capacity to produce and export. Let me ask you, if you think about cocoa now, we're exporting cocoa in Nigeria, and part of what we export in that cocoa is the fact that our export of cocoa is done by people selling at the farm gate to people who buy the beans and export. Now, if you go beyond those, think about a state now deciding, I'm going to pay the price of the beans at the gate. I'm going to find myself $1 million every year, buy up all the beans that is coming from Ondo, and process it and build a processing factory, or find 3 or 4 private sector processors and said, we will process this and we're going to let it to, we're going to let this now to be exported as Ondo State joint venture with a private sector company. So when we export the cocoa, we can make about $4 million from cocoa butter and powder. So the state of Ondo State is earning $4 million out of the 1.5 million they have invested in buying cocoa, another 800,000 in processing, or 1 million. So there's a profit already of about $2 million. Just using those numbers to give an example. Why are we allowing our farmers sell it at the farm gates? Instead of thinking as a development state, how to make that thing to be something everybody will look at your phone. How to make it what everybody can look at. How to make it something that everybody can see the value that a Nigerian state can provide. So palm oil, for instance, is scarce in Nigeria. We import palm oil in Nigeria. So the Southeast states have no business not buying up all the palm that is there, processing it, and becoming the major sellers of palm oil with private sector companies. So this is a mixture of the marketing board and private sector ingenuity, but with the state putting in some capital. So the idea I'm proposing is that what Chinese people have done, taking what works and making it, cascading it from the local levels to the higher level. In China, there's a top-down system, but there's a bottom-up system, forcing every locality to find what they can do to attract people to their locality. Because the reward system is the more you produce, the more you get.
Exactly.
But we have a perverse reward system now.
In fact, because you've gone there, let me move to the questions from our participants. And I have a question from our friend Jerome Okolo. And he says, Ojo Madekwe, who's your, was your boss and mentor,
yes.
that when it becomes advantageous for politicians for there to be free and fair elections, the elections would become free and fair. Jerome's question is why, when, and under what conditions would it become advantageous for the ruling party and elite to bring about the multitude of changes to the electoral law and practice, which you have proposed so thoughtfully and in such detail?
So go back to 2000, go back to 2007. President Umaru Yar'Adua was elected in an election that was widely considered not free nor fair. He came to Eagle Square and said, the election that brought me to power was not a credible election. What did he do next? He set up the Justice Uwais Commission that brought wide-ranging proposals. While it was being done, he died. President Jonathan took over from him and went and took a member of the Justice Uwais Commission, Atahiru Jega, and made him INEC chairman, and introduced all the technological systems that made it that PDP lost an election. Now, how APC have behaved since they got that power, including Saint Buhari, who was a tragic ruler for Nigeria, how they have behaved, have removed incentive for any politician to want to do any such thing. Now, instead of Nigerians praising Jonathan for building the system, what Nigerians are now saying, he's not a man. He should have doubled down. Can't you see how the people in Rivers rewrote the results? Can't you see how the people in this place rewrote the results? So now being good has not been incentivized by Nigerians. Conducting an election that you lost is now seen an act of being a sissy and of not being a strong man. So what is at stake today is that there is no mass, what I call consensus to push for the politicians to give what they currently do not have. So if I were to propose, Ojo is right in saying when it becomes advantageous. What we should be talking about is how to force the politicians for it to become advantageous. So President Yar'Adua did it from the top. And I can see that the masses haven't even responded nor recognized that even the beavers we are talking about today is a product of Umaru Yar'Adua's insistence that we reform our electoral process. So what needs to happen now is to build this coalition of hope with a single agenda to bring back our elections. Single agenda of a coalition of hope. And I'm hoping that I will find like minds to come together. Let's push this one agenda. He said, you know, in our third answer of our national anthem, he said, "Oh God of creation, grant this our one request." Just one request. Help us to build a nation. So I'm asking Nigerians, let's not think about the economy. Let's not think about state creation. Let's not think about our divide. Let's think about, oh God of creation, grant this our one request. Help us to credible elections.
Because you've gone there and because of what you said earlier on, a friend of mine reached out when they saw the flyer that I'm going to be talking to you, and they said, yes, why are you talking to Ikobosi? After all, he's the one that convinced Jonathan to hand over to Buhari when every other voice in the room said he should hold on. I reminded him that it was the right thing to do because there would have been bloodshed, right? But because you've raised this idea of a coalition, I have a question here from Eze. Very deep thoughts, Ikobosi, and indeed Patrick, for asking thoughtful questions. My question, we see how those ruining Nigeria are united, while those who want to push Nigeria forward are focused on individual efforts. When will the likes of Athena Center, Fix Politics, SPPG, etc., come together in a credible collective action? What are the issues preventing patriots from coming together and have that elite consensus that we have all been talking about? That's a direct question.
I always tell people, first things first. Everything has to come in tandem. The Black Lives Matter movement was not made up of Brookings Institute or Heritage or other left-wing think tanks. So there is a role for everybody in this. There is the role of the thinking. That thinking that makes it possible for people to understand what the issues are. That thinking that creates the evidence for action to be taken. If Athena has been planning to form a coalition first, we won't have time to double down in our office. It takes us roughly 4 weeks of writing INEC, receiving the report. We have 60 people entering the results every day there's an election. Immediately the election results start going onto the IREV. We built a proprietary software where all the results are entered, and it begins to flag the anomalies for us before we even wait to get INEC's own EC8B. INEC's own, when we collect INEC's data on BVAS, EC8B, C, and D, we then sit down and manually enter it again into the system. And then we begin to crunch the numbers. We begin to press it. And without it, Nigerians will not have known who is the name of the person who changed the results, who did this and who did that. So I believe very firmly that those that told you Ikobosi convinced Jonathan to hand over are the problem with Nigeria. They are part of the trouble with Nigeria. They are the people that are saying that the man of muscle is the one that will walk. So that is why, if you look at today, the men of muscle have won. You finish running a state, you confiscate the state, you take the resources, and you bid for power. And people say he is a good politician. These are the guys. They are fearless. They are capable. You loot a state for 4 years, 8 years. Your parents have never been known to be rich. You have never been known to do any other work. And Nigerians will say, he has the resources. Why didn't you people make peace with him? Didn't you see that he has the resources? Resources from where?
Are you talking about anyone in particular?
Of all the bad people who are moving around. So we need a coalition of hope who says to people, let's come together. And this is what I believe in. Thought precedes action. So we are providing the thought. So it may happen that all of us will individually move now and form that movement that begins to campaign strategically for certain reforms and saying, this is what we want done. And we're hoping that it will happen.
So I've scanned through this and I see there are questions around leadership recruitment. There's one from Chinenye Nwogu. What do you really think is the greatest challenge with credible leadership recruitment, which I feel is the major issue with Nigeria? And there's another question related from Victor Mac Onyebu. the root causes for me are the leadership recruitment system and the integrity of the electoral process. How do you solve the challenge of the recruitment process where parties are literally hijacked by money bags and delegates are bribed to select a candidate? Is Athena also thinking about this?
So somebody just asked me yesterday, I think it was Charles on Arise TV. Charles asked me yesterday, he said, when are you going to throw this search beam on the primaries of the political parties?
Exactly.
To see the credibility of the primaries.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't answer him well because we ran out of time. But I wanted to say, I'm going to say this. It doesn't really matter how parties produce their candidates, because political parties are in the business of winning power. They may decide that they will appoint their candidates. You can't stop them from doing that. They may decide they will elect an insurrectionist or a felon to be their candidate. You can't stop them. So what is at stake is that if the electorates, and I'm going to warn people about this, even if our elections are credible and the elections are free and fair, it doesn't mean we are going to elect the right people. Because Nigerians can gather on election day and elect a reformed criminal. Mm-hmm. We have elected a reformed Democrat before, supported by credible thinking Nigerians. A man known to have brought down a civilian government was now elected as a reformed Democrat. So we can find the reformed thieves being elected. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't follow that credible elections mean that good people will be elected. Mm-hmm. It still means that the rule of democracy means that this education we are doing, these conversations we're having, this development discourse is designed to bring people to understand the issues. I mean, it is interesting to see how powerful that podcasts have become in America, that both Kamala and Trump ended up attending podcasts more than they interviewed with mainstream television stations. Mm-hmm. That Joe Rogan had more influence on the election than even Fox TV.
And Kamala is blamed for losing the election because she didn't go to Joe Rogan's podcast.
Yes. I mean, so you can see how powerful. So when people see us doing this, that's why I support this program. I share this development discourse, because it is the spread of this thought, the education of the mind, that will ensure that even in a free and fair election, in a credible election, that we do not go end up electing thugs. Because people can just finish and say, it doesn't matter. I can tell you, Buhari got substantial votes in northern Nigeria, and I don't even think they are rigged. I think the majority of Nigerian northerners believed that Buhari was the solution to Nigerians' problem.
Not just northerners. I'm
talking of 2019 election, not 2015, okay. 2019.
Yes, okay.
By 2015, the whole of the country believed it, the Reformed Democrats. Mm-hmm. So there were many Southerners again and many elite people who didn't vote again for him in 2019. But in 2019, he amassed 11 million votes from the area we call Northern Nigeria. Mm-hmm. So when you look at elections, the credibility of the election allows the views of the majority, like has happened in America, to prevail. It allows the views of the majority, like happened in Brazil, where Bolsonaro won. So how to now remove those demagogues from power requires a strong coalition from the people who think otherwise. Without a strong coalition, they will likely not remove an incumbent whose views, no matter how bad they are benefiting some people and impacting some people positively.
Mm-hmm. So many questions to get through, so we'll see if we can make it a bit faster. There is always this question on values reorientation, on, maybe educating Nigerians to have a view on what Nigeria should be, etc. Where do you fall on that? Is there any nation that develops without having these values orientation? Is it a prerequisite to national development?
So I go back to my fundamental thesis, that once we haven't defined the purpose and meaning of Nigeria, we can't have national values. We can't start buying fuel for a car that we haven't bought. Mm-hmm. Let's buy the car first, and then we can buy fuel. I believe that our national values will flow from the meaning and purpose of Nigeria. What are we a state for? And I don't think that people who ask that question, I think, are talking about dismembering Nigeria. I think the issue is that the nature of Nigerian states now, the low quality, the inability to deliver positive outcomes in many areas is now beginning to force us to go back to our original design system. Because the British designed Nigeria as a convenience shop. The railway they built is from Maiduguri to Port Harcourt, Lagos to Kano to Lagos, just to extract resources, take it to the sea and export. They didn't think about moving people from the east to the west. They didn't think about diagonally crossing the country because there were no resources to move those ways. They thought about natural resources, all the agricultural products, all the cuttings. They use rail and put it. So the British bureaucratic sophistication was applied to an extractive state, and it successfully extracted resources. Somebody has pointed out the various nature of colonialism in Africa, from the places where they went and allocated the land to themselves in Kenya, in South Africa, became owners, to places where they saw as hardship posts, where the malaria and the mosquito made it a place inhospitable for them. So they focused on extracting resources. Now, unfortunately, the people that inherited the British colonial system continued the extraction without the efficiency of the British bureaucracy and without the vision. The British bureaucracy did it for Her Majesty's treasury. But in Nigeria, we now did it for our private pockets.
Sure.
So I think
let me
that...
get Iko was so many questions here. Let me get, and all of them brilliant questions. So let me see if I can get a lot more of them in. There's a Damilola Oyewusi. He says, how can we make this coalition of hope happen? Give us your first 3 steps and possible timeline.
So my first step is that we're going to call on many groups and people across Nigeria to join on this one simple issue. I believe we can build consensus across Nigeria, which is first, electoral reforms, the integrity of our elections. I believe that we should go from the non-contentious issues then to the more contentious issues. So our first step, like the civil rights movement was designed to bring civil rights to Blacks in America. When that goal was achieved, of course, the movement went into oblivion. The Black Lives Matter has come and is pushing across the world. We've seen movements arise. Sometimes the objective is not fully achieved, but they alter the character of the state. In Israel, we saw a movement saying to Netanyahu, you can't take away the power of the Supreme Court. So we are going to identify a single issue that unites us, and we push for it. Now, when I'm thinking that 2025 is a good year to start that, to begin to push that both the legislative action, the executive actions are taken to make sure that the 2027 election is an election that reflects the votes of Nigerians. So if we decide to re-elect the incumbent president, so be it. If we decide to elect any other person to power, so be it. Our agreement will be, this is the choice of majority of Nigerians. And I also believe that in those electoral reforms, and because of the nature of Nigeria, nobody should be president without 51% of the votes. So if nobody makes 51%, we go for a rerun. And then for the 2 people, so that 1 person can emerge with the majority of votes of Nigerians. We need to legitimize government once again. We need to make government to be legitimate. This cloud of illegitimacy that drives our government in Nigeria makes them almost act criminal because they don't seem to think that they have enough to push for reforms. So we think that when you have that kind of mandate, then you can push your reforms and you are sure that 51% of Nigerians are behind you.
We wait to see more and read more about this coalition of hope. But I have a question from Magnus Adiele. The Nigerian reality is very complicated. When you say that the Nigerian problem is primarily a design problem, what is that design? But I think you kind of answered that question. The question I think you should pay attention to is who is going to design it and how can it be redesigned?
So before now, I've always argued that the post-Civil War generation has a mission to redesign Nigeria. We don't have the hang-ups, neither do we have the burden of the past. We grew up attending federal government colleges across Nigeria. We rode on the trains that drove from ENUGU to Kaura Namuda. Students went to Federal Government College, Sokoto, Federal Government College, Maiduguri, People went to government colleges in different places in Nigeria, and that generation is about to turn 60. The first set of them, those born in 1960, have turned 60. They've retired. I believe that those of us born after the war, the first set was pre-war children, but the independence children have retired and they haven't done much to Nigeria. The mission of the post-Civil War, those born between 1970 and all the way down to 1980, is to redesign Nigeria, to create incentives for development, to join the coalition of hope, to restore integrity to our elections, and to think of the purpose and meaning of Nigeria, so that we are all working, all our institutions are working to realize our manifest destiny as a nation.
Okay, so I have kind of the same question from Omaru Dare Baba and from Bernard Obima. You have presented great ideas. What are your thoughts on the impact of regionalism, tribalism, and religion in our politics, especially when politicians have used these factors to get into power, and what's the way forward? Bernard Obima then takes a different spin to it to say, in the Southeast, do you agree with those who argue that we should abandon the national project and politics and concentrate on developing the states? So it's kind of related, but if you can take both of them together.
So until any region successfully instills the ideals of merit, liberty, freedom in their state and become a development organization. And I will say this, it will be controversial. Lagos State is the only state that has tried to become a development state in Nigeria. And not only did he become a development state, he built a broad elite consensus that have allowed seamless transfer of power from people you will identify as no pushovers. Fashola ended up being the Minister of Works, Housing, and Power in Nigeria. His outcomes are questionable. You can debate it, but he has left the position and he's freely walking around Nigeria, still delivering speeches and talking freely. Most people who went on to become ministers such powerful end up in EFCC. Ambode did that in Lagos, you know, tough guy, went through the public service, and then we have now Sanwo-Olu in Lagos. So you could see that there is a deliberate design to continue to offer imaginative and strong leadership in Lagos. So I want to see that region in Nigeria that has taken a development approach, since no region has taken it. And I want to believe that our regions were heading towards crisis in 1960 to 66. I keep saying this and I hope people will hear me. In 1965, the whole of the Eastern region, 1964 election, boycotted the election. The East did not participate in the election. And the MPC still got enough seats to form government. It took Zik 5 days to call Tafawa Balewa to form a government. And part of what Tafawa Balewa promised was that there will be constitutional reforms to change the character and the structure of the state. That was why the East agreed to now do their own election in March of 1965. So Nigerian issues have never been, is this design problem? Nigerian issues have always been there. There was no time it was glorious and that there were no issues. No, our political crisis, the minorities were fighting in the Middle Belt, the thief crisis. The core states, Cross River, Gojari rivers, were fighting for independence in the East. The Midwest was agitating for independence. So I'm saying that no region has shown me that they have the capacity to think, especially monolithic region like the Southeast. So there is no way we can look upon Nigeria and say to Nigeria, we are better than you. Yeah, we are doing well in education and co, but nothing in our system have shown that we are the best region where people can live, that people will migrate from other places and say, I'm going to live in the East because it's a thriving place. The people recognize merit. They have days for recruitment of civil servants. You can see their civil service academy. You can see the academy is like the Singapore Public Service Academy. You can see the quality of people. You can see the systems that they put in place to run their area. They digitized land tenure system. So if you get a C of O in the East, you can take it to any bank. So we need to show that there is something any region has done very well that will warrant us to keep arguing about regionalism. Now, for those who say that, yes, I'm one of those who agree that Nigerian states can actually come together at their subnational level and give Nigeria examples. So when you talk about the when you talk about the nation, what they call it in America, the health insurance for all, it was actually started by the state of Massachusetts.
Okay.
Before it was Massachusetts, under, I think it was Romney or before Romney, that forced everybody to have an insurance. That is what Obama cascaded as the Obamacare. So America's strength is in its 50 states laboratory. So people try things in the state. When it works, the federal government kind of takes it over and spreads it. So Nigeria have 36 states to show examples. The unfortunate thing is that each governor has struggled to bring somebody that they're bigger than so they can control the person, and each state has been going down one step after the other. But we're hoping that one or two states can rise to show that example that the nation can copy.
I have a question that should be a natural follow-on to your last comment, but let me go to a different question before I come back to that. There is an anonymous attendee that says, another trouble with Nigeria is lack of patriotism on the part of the leaders and the led. What practical ways can we use to reignite the spirit of patriotism that reminds us we are all stakeholders responsible for the smooth sailing of the ship called Nigeria?
And there's no such drug to take and become patriotic. Patriotism is not a disease that you can, or a vitamin that you can inject in people. Again, it is about our national consensus.
No, but there's some practical things, Ikobosi. For instance, set up the unity schools to solve a particular problem, right?
Yes.
To bring people together. There's some practical ideas that we can use in getting people to become more patriotic.
So that's what I'm saying. The federal government colleges then disoriented again because it now became an avenue for the elites to move their children to federal government colleges. Permanent secretaries, directors in the civil service now started having slum to bring people. After a while, that failed woefully. The National Youth Service was designed, in fact, 1970s was our greatest effort as social engineering to provide national unity and to promote patriotism. But what is happening is that so long as a state is of an extractive nature, of a distributional nature, when the people that finish going to all those things will go back to their states and argue that it is the turn of their own people to produce the chief engineer in the ministry. Every time they produce chief engineer, it has always been from the other side of the state. So it is our turn now to do it. Why are people who went to National Youth Service coming back again to still plead those things? Why didn't they settle in the states where they did youth service and rise to become permanent secretaries? Because of the distributional nature of the Nigerian state. So I'm saying that the practical steps that can be taken is to fundamentally just have that agreement on what is the purpose of Nigeria. So if our purpose is to build the greatest Black nation, to create opportunity for our best and the brightest, to create an opportunity for justice, equity, not unity and freedom and faith, to create that minimum quality, a nation where no man is oppressed, then we can then now begin to design our institutions. To know that every Nigerian will say, for the money I got from look at what I told you about University of Nigeria at 100,000. That is a huge subsidy from the Nigerian state. But the Nigerian state has never said to anybody, the cost of us training you by the allocations we pay is actually 7 million naira, but you paid only 1.2 million. Nigerian states have never shown that there is benefit to being Nigerian. Because if you go to Ahmadu Bello and graduate from there, man, you collected, even compared with Bayes University. I went to study law in Bayes. I was paying 2.5 million a year. In my time, I paid 10 million to graduate from law school, from Bayes University. Now it's 3.5 million, 4 million now in a year. And this same law is what they are doing in UNEG for 125,000. Just imagine, even if you use Bayes as a denominator, 10 million and 1 million for 1 year. This is the subsidy Nigerians are receiving from the Nigerian state. But the Nigerian state haven't been able to say this to Nigerians, articulate it, that despite our weakness, we have continued to deliver some value.
Ikobosi, I'm running out of time, but I must get to this question that really puts you on the spot. And it's from Chukwebuka Obele. He has a two-part question. The first one is, how soon can we expect Athena Center's input on the proposed tax bill? But the one that puts you on the spot is, he says, are you still interested in governing Anambra State, especially and considering that the perceived zoning favors Anambra Central, where you're from, to succeed Governor Soludo? So those are the two questions.
So the last question, Athena Center will come up with his report. I'm not the only person in Athena Center. So they're looking at it, and once we're ready, we'll make it public. We'll take our time just to be sure. We are not partisan, so we don't care what people will think. We'll just make our position known. So we will. Yes, I'm interested in ruling Anambra State. That's my answer.
But you left, your last statement said that you're leaving partisan politics. Isn't that a contradiction?
For now.
For now.
Yes. I hope that if we reform the electoral process and if we rebuild Nigeria, I will reconsider my position. But if Nigeria is as presently constituted and elections is as presently done, that you can go back and redo the beavers and you can rewrite the results, I will not bother.
I have a question here, maybe my last question, from Maureen Idozu. Do you plan to engage international development partners as part of this process? How do they account for their support to the electoral process, considering the overwhelming irregularities, controversies, and what do you think about situations of such altering results as demonstrated by INEC officials? So basically, are you going to work with international development partners, especially given seemingly poor track record of their support and the outcomes that we've seen?
Definitely, we would like to work with them, but I'm one of those who don't think much about international partners in terms of, I like them because you get the opportunity of getting 100-country experience. If you work with the World Bank, if you work with so many, they have experience from across the world, we can share knowledge. But I think that the dirty job and the lifting is a Nigerian work. Despite all their support, if we're not ready to coalesce and lift, we'll end up just having all those people who, at the end of the day, the international partners, they will leave Afghanistan, they will leave, and they will come back as do-gooders to give us aid. So I think it is our job primarily. But yes, we will enjoy their expertise and the funding if need be, but I think basically it's our work. Nigerians must come to the consensus that it is time to change course.
Exactly. Ikobosi, thank you so much for your time, and the insights and the great knowledge you've shared with us today. And to the listeners, just to say that we're coming up to my last development discourse for the year, and it's going to be in 2 weeks' time, December 18th, and it will be with Professor Peter Lewis, and it's the theme is on reinforcing the guardrails, institution building, and Africa's development. Same time in 2 weeks' time. And once again, thank you for always joining us. And I hope this has been a fruitful experience for you. Ikobosi, thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And well done on the development discourse. Keep at it.
Thank you. Thank you much.
Health is more than a diagnosis. It's your lifestyle, your choices, and your future. Join us on Inside Health, your weekly deep dive into the stories, science, and solutions shaping your well-being. From expert interviews to real-life journeys of healing and hope, we cover it all.
One of the complications of cancer management or treatment is they have, some of them, at one point in time, you see them having anemia. Okay, so you see them at times being transfused. But at the same time, you come in with a diet.
Nutrition, mental health, innovations in medicine, fitness, and everyday wellness. Whether you're managing a condition, staying informed, or just living your best life, Inside Health is your trusted guide.
I'm Tigiti Agorum, and I'll be with you every week on Inside Health, only on Signature TV.
A friend was starting an NGO for people who were suicidal. And then I told them my story. I didn't know that there were some press men who were hanging around. All the inspiration, all the good things I said, they left it out. They just put the thing out on all media. ONG contemplate suicide. Bam! My friend was not speaking to me for years. call me for America. Why now? Why you go want kill yourself? Why? Now broke you broke. We go help you. I say, now broke, I broke. You will not tell them we will help you. Now broke you broke. I say, yeah, we will help you. Okay, we'll see how we feel help you, eh? Up to today, never help me.
My brother and friend, the comedian, filmmaker, actor, and musician ONG is my guest today. ONG is a true pioneer. He, is one of the pioneers of the skit culture in Nigeria from as far back as 2001.
And I was happy when Talma told me. She said she was 11 or 12, and my skit was one of the first things she ever saw.
That's amazing.
And said, I want to do this. I think I can do this like this man. Wole Agba said every time my skit was being played, because my montage, you'd hear a funny dog chasing a comedian is running home to go and watch. So every time he hears that sound, it goes, to work and says, man, I want to do this. So those things inspire me. So many others, they act as if you didn't start it. And I can't go up and down saying I started this gangster shit. It's just the thanks I get for all the, but it's good.
This is a man who tells me that he left his own wedding, left his wife dancing to go and do a show.
One of the banks had called me Thursday. Are you available? I said, yes, I'm available. Only for me to remember that at the wed, when they told me the amount, and I knew how much I needed to balance.
For the festivities.
For the festivities. I said, I go run them. I'll be there. Trust me. And my wife she just leaned over and said, what time is your event? I said, in the next 30 minutes. She said, okay. Once we cut cake, as soon as they declare dance, you just disappear. Now let me go dance for this. And that was what happened. Yeah. As soon as I say it's time for this, I just acted as if I wanted to ease myself. Because I could not tell anybody.
We talk about how that marriage has evolved, with him being Niger Delta and she being Yoruba, he being Christian and she being Muslim, watcher of NSPPD.
Let me shock you. Every morning, you cannot take my wife away from NSPPD. 7 to 8:10. I say 8:10 because by 8:10 is when the man will now put account and say. That is when the Lagos Island in my wife comes out. Say, me the man for every day.
He being a hardcore rap fan and she being, a Muslim who also listens only to Fuji music.
I am a strict hip hop guy.
Yes.
247.
Yeah.
My wife has always been a Fuji person.
Yes.
My wife keeps telling me that we're not going to renew our vow until I am rich enough for her to pay Kwam1.
I support it.
To sing at her traditional wedding.
Then we talk about 2018 or so when he wanted to take his life because everything had gone. Everything, he had lost everything.
The sleeping pills, yellow sleeping pills. If you take one now, you can wake up next tomorrow. You won't know what happened tomorrow.
Maybe 2 days, yes.
So imagine having 11.
Like dying.
Yes. Yeah. Imagine having 11, 12 of those, and you still have more. So I looked at it and I was like, okay. And then while I was thinking, and my smallest son came out. And someone said, Daddy, I want to drink water. Went to the dispenser, I poured water in a cup. I gave it to him. He drank the water. When he finished, he died. He hugged me. Thank you, Daddy. And then he walked back. And one voice came to me and said, if you do this today, who is going to give this boy water tomorrow? I packed the thing. Yeah, pack him. I said, I not put him where I go see if he see him use. I flushed the whole thing down the toilet. I went back to God and I said, I'm sorry for being a fool.
It was a funny show. We started it laughing and we ended it in a place of reflection, of lessons, and of beauty. Welcome to With Chide.
Come for me. Make I wake up.
Her 24th tattoo, I will.
Who do do tattoo? My next guest. Well, we not fit to. Not fit do tattoo.
You dey fear?
My wife told me she wanted to do a tattoo. Kept insisting. Because for her birthday this year, she's going to be 45.
Right.
So she wanted a tattoo. I said, don't leave all this one. Say she want tattoo my name. I say, why? You know whether me and you go quarrel. Go separate. You can't carry down, they go show people up and down. See the idiot. I see tattoo in name for my body. The man see they do anyhow. I say, I beg. No. She say, oh, so you have it in mind to quarrel with me. I say, you know, see, when there's no money, you will not know the real attitude of a man.
Yes.
I don't get money now. And with the kind of blessing God is preparing for me,
yes,
I don't know what I might do.
I love it.
You understand? God might just
shock
me. And I will look down, okay, this woman, you've been with me for donkey years, Armageddon, you have suffered, you've washed clothes, let's bring in one small girl to come and be assisting you. You understand? You know, all those kind of things.
Yes, she won't be stressed.
You understand? You say, no. I say, it's not good for you. You've suffered, you know, you should just be traveling all over the world, spending my money. While you are doing that, let one small girl be at home. Just be doing all of this little thing, cleaning house before you come back. By then you now say you've tattooed my name on your back. No, don't do it.
So she didn't do it?
No, so leave tattoo. Don't worry.
Let's start with that.
Yes, sir.
Let's start with your wife, because you and your wife have a fantastic story.
Yeah.
So first, I want to talk about the scandalous part. If they never hear, before maybe they hear.
Yeah.
Say, during your wedding, you left your wedding.
Yes.
To go and MC an event.
Yes. It was like that then, because as at the time when I was marrying my wife, it wasn't about all of the whole society wedding thing. It was just, you know, wanting to marry the person that you love. You didn't care what form it took place. So it wasn't something elaborate. It was something big. It was a normal, okay, let's go to the registry, Ikoyi. From the registry, we'll now go over to the reception. But incidentally, a week to the wedding, one of the banks had called me. I was running a promo then. It was a sharp promo, you know. One of those 1 hour promos that they would just do raffle, you know me, and they like the way I just spice it up when I do my thing. So they called me and said, so the Thursday, are you available? I said, yes, I'm available. Why not? So, only for me to remember that I did wed that particular. So I now called back. And the first thing I asked them is, how much will they pay this time? So when they told me the amount, and I knew how much I needed to balance.
For the festivities.
For the festivities. I said, I go run them. I'll be there. Trust me. And so, after we'd finished everything, we'd got in there, we had dancing, we had sat down, you know, and my wife she just leaned over and said, what time is your event? I said, in the next 30 minutes. She said, okay. Once we cut cake, as soon as they declare dance, you just disappear. Now only me go dance for this. And that was what happened. Yeah. As soon as I say it's time for this, I just acted as if I wanted to ease myself. Because I could not tell anybody. And I just disappeared. So I got there, I was in my, tuxedo with the bow tie and they were looking like, man, you're looking so sharp. So immediately I started saying, you welcome distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and honor to you. I'd like to welcome you to the blah, 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 blah promo draw. In fact, I'd like you all to congratulate me. I'm just coming from my own wedding reception. I got married today. They started laughing. They thought it was a joke. Like, you can't be serious. They took it as one of my. I said, okay. So I started telling them, as I'm standing here in front of you, I have a retinue of people waiting for me who don't know where I've actually gone to. I know today is going to be war for me and some of my friends. My in-laws don't even know what's happening. In fact, the only person who knows that I'm actually here is my wife. And they're like, this guy can't be serious. And then I did the thing. By the time I got back, it was just about 2 of my friends. My wife was still dancing, and the rest, they're still just spraying her, and the rest. So when I came in, I could see that frown on my face. So my wife, so I just went to meet her. I said, how far? I said, everything went on. Okay. So I just continued dancing with her. And then from then on, I carried on, we went home. And we've been happy ever since. Yeah. She has never mentioned it. There has never been any mention of it. And I'm hoping that when I finally hit that money, get that big endorsement, get that big money, like the type of money you have, I'm hoping.
We receive it.
Amen. We've seen your views on YouTube. That's why we are here. We've seen the views. We've seen this way be like play. The first time I saw you doing, I said, children are very, I keep telling people about how far we go. Yeah. Right from your NYSC days in the oil company. And brilliant. But today you get brain. Jesus. If today writes for you, write this thing. I purposely used to just avoid you. Then don't brief me. Don't even be the one to talk to me.
Yes,
so that my head will not blow.
Yeah.
And I saw the views and the rest. So when I finally blow, collect YouTube money like you, I'm hoping I could renew my vow with her. You understand? And that day I'll make an announcement before the reception. No organization should call me whatsoever. In fact, I'll do it on a Monday morning.
When they do board meetings.
You understand? 7 a.m.
You are one of the original skit makers.
Yes, sir.
You started with skits, like, creating them. Those are the things that made you blow. Yeah. Are you fascinated now by how skit culture has overtaken everything?
Thank you for having to acknowledge that. Very few people try to acknowledge it. And my friend Kofi, a Boston friend, would always say, why don't you like giving yourself the proper credits that you deserve? You have worked. I say, it is not in my right. I'm not used to bragging. Because I want my helpers to locate me. Helpers always like to see you like your hand like this. They don't like to see your hand like this. You can't meet your helper now and say, how far? When you see your helper, say, Baba. Let me just tell you about the whole skit thing, how it started. It was in the mid-2000s. I think it was it 2004, 2005? I started watching some foreign films again because I started out earlier on in life knowing I was going to be an entertainer. Very young, at 8 years. It was even 2. I started as a dancer at 2, but my father used to take me to parties and would use me to win bets with his friends. My pikin, fit dance past your pikin. They stake money, my father will win. Yeah. When he win, he's going to drink beer.
I love it.
When I was getting 9, 10, I used to watch some mothers who have Frank Spencer. And I had a quick flair for just learning how to imitate. That is one thing I want to go back to doing now. I love mimicry. I've not tried it in a while. As I was coming, I was just trying. I said, Owen, you should be able to start doing mimicry again. If I just come, for example, now and say, hey, today, all this time where you dey talk, say my husband no fit to be president. Now they don't give you man wey strong pass you, your eye don clear. Today na only you waka come. There is God, oh. Today there is God, oh.
Yeah.
Or when I say, look, let me tell you something. Look, enough is enough. Tell your gods to come and see me. Stop putting juju. Stop putting juju on the road. Open your eye every day. Newspaper. They say wicked. Afternoon wicked. Evening wicked. Chai, Chude. Is that why we are here? I can't believe it. People have been carrying a lot of rumors about me, but they don't know how talented I am. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
For those who are not following, we've moved from President Jonathan to Governor Wike to Julius Agu.
And then it's just like that. If you not get money, go face swallow. I go by the name Portable Amalalami, aka Zazu Pokoto Amememe Ministry. If you not get money, go face. You get passport, not get money, they there. Kini ma faja, kini ma bo. Wala. No get money, they make mouth. Now you guys Zazu. Now you.
As I woke up this morning, my motivational speech for this morning was from Portable. I just watched a full interview. I said, I'm ready to face life now.
He motivated you.
Yes, it motivated me. Yes, I'm ready to now face life. But let's continue back to the story.
So I now thought, okay, I said, I was seeing things that people like Chris Rock were doing, Martin Lawrence, and I was fascinated. I'd watch their sitcoms, I'd watch all those short things that they were doing. I was like, okay, I think I can start doing short 2, 3, 4 minutes plays or something, you know, just do them in form of funny videos. It doesn't always have to be just hold the mic alone and talk. I could shoot these things and then we could put them, you know, into small videos and put them on TV. So I said, okay, it was possible, but I didn't have the resources. I didn't have the cameras, and I only had the ideas. So I took the ideas then, and then I started going around. There were not too many TV stations then, so I went to a couple of them. I went to Galaxy, I went to AIT, I went to NBI. You know, I was turned down a lot. They couldn't understand the concept of what I wanted to do. So then myself and Kofi were already friends. I discussed it with him, I discussed it with Bumi Davis, and I said, okay, let's try something out. So we started a little program called Comedy Zone. It wasn't still in the line of skits. It was, you know, there's a difference between skits and sketches.
Right.
You know, skits are what is on now. Sketches is you assuming different characters, standing on a stage to do something, and then you can also just video that person sitting down. You know, I can sit here now and assume different characters while sitting here, you know, and put that out. That's a sketch. But the skit is when I bring in 2 or 3 people and then we try and play the whole scenarios out. So it wasn't still what I wanted to do.
A few years ago, you shocked people when you shared the story of a time when you were suicidal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And people were shocked because, first of all, you're a funny man. Secondly, you've had a blast in this industry. You know, so people cannot imagine it. What was going on then?
It was a lot of bad moments. I had invested a lot in the arts, and I hadn't gotten the return backs. I was losing on every, and I had worked my ass off. You know, I was broke to bankruptcy. I was tired. I was fagged out. I had given every single thing. Everything, the industry, people, everything I've been, up until now, today. There has never been any projects I have done that I have gotten sponsorship to do. I just mentioned one now. Think of how much it has cost me, millions of my money. I have approached sponsors. Nobody wants to invest in what will not yield for them immediately. And life can't be like that. I wasn't seeing any light again. You know, I was making people laugh, but I wasn't laughing. And I was like, man, honestly, I'd gone as far as I was stupid. That's what I'll call it. I was stupid. I came out, I prayed to God because I love to pray. And I told God, I said, Father, Lord, it's time for me to come and I want to come and give you the best show in heaven. I said, I'm going to crack, the angels are going to laugh so hard. There's a lot I have to tell you. You go, I said, every day is going to be a comedy performance in heaven. I'm going to shake the place. But it's just time. As you know, one great help me. Make a yoku come. May I come be with you. May we say they look how we feel help some other people. So I had the pills and I had everything. I prayed from like 1 to like 3 a.m.
You were praying while you had the pills.
Yeah, our pills were there. So I was praying, telling God, I'm coming. I beg. It's not what. So right at 3, I had made up my mind. I sat down. I like, let me just think about this for 3 minutes. That 3 minutes was for me to think. My wife was sleeping. My kids were sleeping. Because I'd stylishly been telling my wife, if anything should happen to me, don't stay a widow for the rest of your life. In fact, don't even stay more than 1 year. Look for somebody you really love. I've gone. Move on. Marry. Be happy. Take care of my kids. Live your life. She was crying with me, you are a useless man. What are you talking? If you were drinking, to say you drink, now go say now drink. Why are you talking this rubbish? She didn't know what I had in mind. You know, so I now thought of her. I said, this woman will cry, oh, this woman will. Yeah. So I looked at the stuffs, the sleeping pills, yellow sleeping pills. I don't know the name. I don't want to call it now so that people who are will not go, you know. Yeah, yes. But when you take those pills, when you take only one, the sleep is always, it's for depressed people. The sleep is always so sweet today. Oh, you can, if you take one now, You can wake up next tomorrow. You won't know what happened tomorrow.
In the 2 days, yes.
So imagine having
It's like
11.
dying.
Yes. Imagine having 11, 12 of those, and you still have more. So I looked at it and I was like, okay. And then while I was thinking, and my smallest son came out. He just came out. His eyes were, he came out. And someone said, Daddy, I want to drink water. So I stood up. I said, you want to drink water? Yeah. So I stood up. I took him. He held my hand. Went to the dispenser. I poured water in a cup. I gave it to him. He drank the water. When he finished, he drank. He hugged me. Thank you, Daddy. And then he walked back. And one voice came to me and said, if you do this today, who is going to give this boy water tomorrow? Who will give him water? I packed the thing. Pack him. I said, me, I not put him where I go see if he see him use. I flushed the whole thing down the toilet. I went back to God and I said, I'm sorry for being a fool. I was selfish. I was thinking about myself alone. I have millions of people to mentor. I have people to feed. I have people to inspire. I have a family to take care of. Just use me as I am. From now on, irrespective of what happened, I just want to be happy. I will not put anything to heart again. And then that was how I packed. So even my wife, nobody knew. So a friend was starting an NGO for people who were suicidal. And then he brought me in as, a spokesperson. You've gone through this. You've come and inspire them. Come and talk to them. So he brought them. And then when they first saw me there and the rest, they thought it was going to be entertainment. I cracked them up, jokes, and then I told them my story. How I was them. How I overcame it. I didn't know that there were some pressmen who were hanging around. Those pressmen, all the inspiration, all the good things I said, they left it out. They just put the thing out on all media. ONG contemplate suicide. Bam! My parents read it. My family members read it. I was saying this, you want to disgrace our family. You want to kill yourself and go. You don't want to inherit your father's property. You are wicked. You are I couldn't. So, in fact, that was one of the last times I stopped doing those kind of public things. Truly coming out to speak about my problems. In this part of the world, the press, social media, they will amplify it. They will turn the story upside down. They don't see the inspirational parts. They don't see the parts where you are trying to help somebody. So they just ended up creating more problems. Because something where I don't do, I don't forget, I hide them. You don't go. People come back, they call me. My friend called me my friend was not speaking to me for years. Called me from America. Why now? Why you don't want to kill yourself? Why? Now broke you broke. We go help you. I said, now broke, I broke. You will not tell us we will help you. Now broke you broke. I said, yeah, we will help you. Okay, we'll see how we feel help you, eh? Up to today, never help me. Up to today. That's life for me.
This life.
This life.
My brother. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
I'm so glad you brought just everything I thought this conversation was going to be. Thank you.
Thank you.
And my love to your fantastic wife.
My brother.
And to your beautiful children.
God bless you. Thank you so much. You know that you're the only person who I've known for like more than 15 years who sends me a birthday message on every of my birthday, March 6th. You never, I know in my heart that today would wish me happy birthday. You would either call, but that message, that shop banker, I must get it. This last one, you not send me. We get quarrel. This is the first time in over.
Sorry, I did retreat that time. I was in a 2-week retreat. I swear, when I came back, I saw, I have not wished ONG, I can't say now overdue now.
Because I just sit down. You say, once you know, I can't sit down, say, okay, I can't say, I not collect you the wife. We not quarrel. Why do they not send me message? I go, why do they not? I don't know who to ask because when you send her, I don't show anybody. Should they not send me? So I beg, send her.
Thank you, sir. I'll go do it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bright and early as the day breaks, as the newspaper headlines trail the stories that shape the day. We at Signature TV trail the headlines that trail the day. We interrogate the headlines. We analyze the stories that make the headlines.
Why is overrated, and they even overrated themselves and went into CBT. They are insensitive of some Nigerian children who have never had what is called CBT.
With passion and emotion, we drive the conversation to change a narrative.
Let nobody be deceived by Nigerian high level of performing in agriculture export. We are still where we are.
Newspaper review on Signature TV every morning on Signature Morning, weekdays, and Signature New Day, weekends. Newspaper review on Signature TV. We do not just review the headlines, we make the headlines relevant to our daily lives.
Signature TV, news in your pocket. Signature TV, news in your pocket.
Get plugged into the heartbeat of entertainment on The Hub, your ultimate show on eVibes. From trending stories and social media drama to top charting music, must-watch movies and exciting moments from the world of arts, we've got it all. Join us for unmissable conversations with your favorite entertainment personalities, plus fun segments every week.
I should try harder, so...
Okay, I don't know that one.
Outfit of the day.
Oh, I don't do that. That's some Gen Z stuff.
Oh, now you say it's a Gen Z stuff.
It's everything you love about entertainment, served fresh every week at 1 p.m. with weekend repeats just in case you missed it. The Hub's on eVibes, where the vibes never stop. Only on Signature TV.
Signature Show, and I'm Vin Martin Obiora Ilo. Today I have a special guest on the program. I have Professor Augustine Okereke. Professor Augustine Okereke is a professor of English at the Medgar Evers College, City University of New York. He was a former provost and senior vice president of City University of New York, the equivalence of a vice chancellor in Nigeria. He was also former dean, School of Liberal Arts and Education. He is a professor of African and world literature. But the unique point about it all is that Professor Augustine Okereke is from Arondi Zogo in Imo State. Professor Okereke, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure being here. I'm happy being here too.
Yeah, it's really a privilege for me to be having you in our studio because I've heard so much about your work in the United States, but I know your journey started in Nigeria.
That's correct.
Especially your academic journey started in Nigeria. But before we talk about the academic journey, how did growing up in Nigeria, how has it influenced who you are today?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. I mean, for those of us who grew up under the tutelage of certain parents, my father was a civil servant, a very senior servant for that matter, and an academic. He went to, CKC in those days, and his vision every time he will drop that into me is that I have to be a university graduate. When being a graduate was, almost the the topmost of all. And he really wanted me to get a PhD. So from when I was young, I was always thinking of getting a PhD. And again, going up from that, from my civil servant, not very rich, but very, very comfortable, I kind of know I will need a title to my name. And those who were invested with chiefs and also were in those days were people who were either rich or have done a lot for the community, when it was really very well respected. And so I said I will have a title, and that title will be doctor in my name. And so I always have hope that I will get a PhD. And secondly, I have always liked teaching. I like teaching. And I have always wanted to be in the teaching profession. So I worked to be that, So that is how I got into academics and into teaching. And of course, being a teacher also gets you involved in so many other things too. And now I became so much involved in the community. I like to help to develop my community, to work for the community.
You're from Arondizogo. Yes. Did you grow up in Arondizogo with your father being a civil servant?
No, I did not. We grew up in the city. My father was actually moving mostly outside of Igbo land, actually in Port, Egema, at times in the north. So we're moving from city to city. But that was unique in its own way too, because you have this idea of a wholeness of life, perspectives from different experiences, different cities, meeting different people. And so that kind of have a world view that is kind of complete in itself, through these experiences.
So at what point did education start for you with this mobility? Yes. in your dad's career? So were you moving from one secondary school to the other and all that?
Yes, that was before the war and after the war. Okay, before the war, moving from one primary school to the other. But immediately after the Nigerian Civil War, before the war, I was kind of primary 3, 4. And so what happened was that immediately after the war, due to my academic achievement, I jumped everything. I went into class 1. So I was in the same class with my elder brother then, my father wanted me to be that. And so, I went into secondary school in Olo, stayed just then, BSc, Bishop Shanahan College, Olo. And that was where I stayed my secondary career. And then, then achieving secondary school impacts a lot of knowledge, a lot of learning in you, and going to certain secondary schools. And so that formed my perspective of, I've always wanted to be an academic in my life. I was never thinking of any other thing, so I said, this is what will happen.
Did that inform your choice of what you went on to read in the university?
Yes, that's a very kind of similar story. The Bishop Shanahan College is mainly geared towards science, majorly, all right? So most of my classmates went into medical, medical doctors, geology, scientific this thing. But, I'm kind of a little bit different for one reason, though. And this reason is kind of will be a lesson for it. It's a lesson for how I educate my children too. So I have this physics professor who was very, very strict, very close friend of my father, very, very close friend. So anytime I mess up in class, he will give me lashes and lashes and lashes, And so the fear. So after class 3, I said, okay, I will drop physics. I will not take physics again, so that I won't take him. And so then, you have to have certain subjects to be in the science. Physics must be there. Chemistry must be there. Biology must be there. So when physics wasn't there, there was no other science subject I would take. And I am an avid reader. Then in secondary school, I was reading all Hadley Chase novels. I was reading all these romance novels from one lady. So we read, if I was reading Shakespeare, in school. So I said, okay, I will go into literature because that kind of interests me. So that is how I went into literature, branched off into the arts, quite different from the training, from the education we get from BSc, Bishop Shanahan College, all of them. All right. So after secondary school, I attended the College of Education Worker to the very first set that was there. And then I was the first set that had the agreement with UNN and Albany Kuku College of Education Owerri. So I received my bachelor's there, but it's UNN, degree, because we had that, collaboration with Albany Kuku. So after that, one thing too is that, in those days of politics, there were some names you hear, the way they sound, the way they look. Chuba Okadibo, they would say Dr. Chuba Okadibo, as a young child. Then
you loved it.
Iken Nzemiro, Dr. Iken Nzemiro. Dr. Bisiuku, I said, I am going to get a PhD. I'm going to be a doctor. That's just that, it suited doctor. Those.
So
those role models,
you were like, you had role models.
Yes, exactly.
Even as a young boy.
Exactly.
People you wanted to be like.
Yes, exactly.
Which, unfortunately, we hear is so absent these days.
Yes. And I can tell you, I have two boys, 33, 31, and I know what it means to have role models. I know what it means to be friends, in a way, to work with them, to also, let them respect you too, and look up to you. I have a daughter who is 27 years old, who, like I'm her property, but she talks about her father as her role model. So if we have those role models, that will really help these young kids. And at the college where I teach, predominantly black institution, we know the importance of guiding those young kids, particularly in Brooklyn, Brooklyn, where you have, these people going astray and all those things, So role model is so important, So I took after, I will always remember him, Dr. Chuba Okadibo, very, very sweet.
Well, you didn't go into politics, or you have not gone into politics.
Yes, no.
Because Chuba was a politician.
Yeah, I knew I would not go into politics because of the way we saw politics practiced. It's something. In those days, it was, my time, we have the legendary Dr. K.O. Mbadiwe, but, when politics becomes something that is not of service to the community, then you say, no, you cannot survive in politics there because they will outrun you because you are there to work while the other ones are not there to serve the community. So I knew I would not get into politics. It's not that, people take political appointments, to do service, but really education is really what I like to do.
But let's do a fast forward. For so many years now, you live in the US. Yes. So how did that happen?
Okay, first of all, I lived in Germany. That is so. I was a lecturer at the College of Education Worker, all right, and I was to attend study leave to further my education. First of all, I went to University of Port, started 1 year, and then had to leave. But, it's not circumstantial, but it's a deliberate choice. People were going to the US, people were going to London. I always like to do something different. So Germany was different for me in terms of where people go to. And I had this professor then, I just knew him through belonging to the African Literature Association. We started communicating. He was interested in African literature, and he wanted to get people to come to get their doctorate through him so that he will also learn too. So I said, okay, I'm going to go to Germany. So I went to Germany for my PhD, and I spent 10 years,
in Germany?
I spent 10 years in Germany from 1991 to 2001. Then I had to apply. I'm one of those who rarely get a kind of job outside of the year. So I got the job into the City University of New York after my PhD.
While you were in Germany?
Yes.
Did you teach in Germany?
Yeah, we thought, Germany has a kind of different system. So I was working under the professor. Professors in Germany are like an institution. So they have a whole host of private docents and all those people outside them. So they offer courses, and I get us to teach. So I was teaching the African literature course for him, even though it was under his name. So I had, after my PhD, I had that experience, before.
So you applied and you went over to the United States?
Yes, and two things influenced my moving over. Number one, my children particularly. I had my children, all of them there. My two boys were only 7 months and 1 year old in Nigeria when we came over. My daughter was born there. And so they were having no black experience. Where I lived, I was the only, black person around there totally. And so something happened very funny. I went to Essen. We went to visit some black family. And for the first time, we entered inside the room, and there were up to 10 black men there. My two boys, one of them was 3 years, the other one was like about 4 years then, ran away from the room because they saw black men like that for the first time.
And they couldn't understand what that was.
Understand what that was. Because in the school, they were the only black, the only black fellows, the only black men. So I said, no. I can't have my children not to grow, at least, if not outside of Nigeria, but to grow where they will know who they are. It's very, very important for you to know where you are from and who they are. And so I said, the best place to go. Coming back to Nigeria, Nigeria is, you can never condemn your country, however, but, with all what's going on, it may not be your first choice of educating children, of living. So I said, okay, I'm going to apply to see if I get position in the US. And I did. So they came over. And it was a good experience too. They are coming over. Something funny happened the first day. And when they came over first. I was still in Germany. So the first day, the two boys went to school, the primary school where they attended. So they were told to, Kenneth, the first son, wait for your brother after school. Your mom will come and pick you up. After school, the boy went home. He didn't wait. So we asked him, why didn't you go home? Why didn't you wait for your brother? Why did you go home? So he said, why wouldn't I go home? How can I recognize my brother? Everybody looks the same. That at the back of their head, he couldn't identify his brother again because they were all black folks. But over there in Germany, they were all white folks, so he can see his brother from very far. So you see, the lesson there for me is that it's always good to kind of get people to understand who they are. You want to educate people. And so that was the movement there. And of course, I got there are opportunities there, unlike in Germany where there may not be as much opportunity for academic growth for a foreigner like me then at that age too.
Okay, so you ended up in the U.S. Was it at the City University of New York?
Yes,
that's where you've been all this while.
There, yes, 20.
And what an exciting career! You rose. You were former dean. You were former provost and senior VP, vice president, which is like vice chancellor in Nigeria. That's quite a high height in the United States.
Yes.
What made it possible for you?
Yes.
What were those qualities that got you to that level in a very competitive environment like the United States?
In the first place, to get the appointment, to get a tenure track position first, even outside of the US was very competitive. But it's hard work, hard work and dedication, loving what you do. So when I came in there, after spending 2 years only there on tenure, I was appointed to lead a program, they call it African Democracy Project, to get students to be civic-minded. These are the kind of things I would like to do, kind of seeing how we can do that in Nigeria too. So that program got me into the university, got me to know the professors, got me to have a wider perspective of how things work in the college. And I did it so well that I gained recognition, both academically and within the community too. So after 7 years, I was appointed chair of department and dean of school. So, with that, and then establishing programs for students, I was really dedicated to doing that, to promoting students, to getting them to be civic-minded, to working on the curriculum, making sure that the curriculum is kind of responsive to the needs of the students. So I was elected to be chair, and then appointed to be dean, and of course senior vice president. But it's hard work totally.
An Igbo man, a Nigerian, a black man, you know, rising to this height. How do you relate it with a lot of our people, Nigerians, going or getting to the wrong side of the law? What do you think makes that possible?
You know, one thing I will have to say is that, you know, most Nigerians, almost about 99.9% of Nigerians do not get on the right side of law because they know their purpose, they know their, you know, their reason for being there. And particularly for the Igbos, you know, it's really hard work. You know, there were quite a number of Nigerians in the college too. And when I came in newly, one person who, a former colleague at the College of Education, Waka, was told me that there is no Nigerian, there's no Igbo man who has come to the university and is not tenured. Because after 5 years, then now it's 7 years, you have to be tenured. So you have to work hard to be tenured. So let me not be the first that is not tenured. You know, so you have to work hard. But it's challenging though, it's challenging because of the environment you are. So many competing factors, of course. I mean, there's race in there's ethnicity in everything that we do. I mean, it's quite ingrained somehow. But like I said, it's kind of hard work. You have to read, you have to write, you have to learn to work with people. You know, I just learned to work with the community to do that. I recall after 7 years, you know, I was elected chair of the department, all right. And so the very first day as chair of the department, you know, coming into a different system and everything, you know, so that very first day, tons of students lined up trying to change program, trying to sign this, trying to sign that. So I was sweating. I was sweating, but I was signing anything in front of me. Sign and go, sign and go. See, I did not sign myself into problem. After that day, I was saying, okay, I will survive. You know, then you learn the system. You have to understand the system. And so what happened as provost, you know, the college went through a certain, you know, turmoil. You know, we have this in all high institutions. And so they appointed a new president to the college. So this new president came, spent about less than a year. He called me up to his office. I was surprised because I don't expect him. He was quite well known before he came to the college. You know, he was Chancellor of Schools in New York City. You know, Dr. Rudolph Crew is his name. Called me up to the office. He said, I would like to appoint you, you know, dean. And then you go to, I said, dean? I said, oh. I said, okay, I mean, that one is quite close to being chair. So I became dean, you know, to go through the process of being permanent. He called me up again and said, I would like you to be the provost of the college. I never thought about that. So I told him, but let me ask you though. He said, yes. He said, you've not known me before. I wasn't here when you were Chancellor of Schools. You've not met me in Adam. What made you think that I can do this work? Then he looked at me. He said, look, Augustine, can I call you Augustine, not Dr. I said, call me Augustine, yeah. He said, people's work speak for themselves. That I've heard about you.
That's great.
Yes.
People's work speak for themselves.
Yes. People's work. That I heard about what you did with the Democracy Project. I heard what you did with the chair of the department, you know, as a chair of the department. So I was dean for less than a year. And then I became provost and went through the interview. So I told him, look, let me tell you, Dr. Crew, since you have invested this trust in me, I'm not going to disappoint you. And we didn't, because we did a lot of work, both locally and internationally. We even came to Nigeria to establish joint relationships with the Avani Kuku, and then went to Abuja too to do that. He came with me to Nigeria, and he loved that. He loved coming to Nigeria, coming to Africa for the first time. And he saw the potential of being you know, Nigeria has. And he also saw the challenges too we have in Nigeria. And it was sad for him with the challenges, because he said the black man can do it if the black man wants to do it. So, you know, I recall we flew into Abuja, you know, we flew from Abuja to Port Harcourt. And when we landed in Port Harcourt, that time, their receiving area was like a tent. Can you imagine that international flight with Air France, like a tent? So we landed into port, and he saw the tent, you know, and we moved from Port Harcourt to Were. We had the programs with the Bad Road. After 4 days, we flew down to Abuja. So when we landed at Abuja and drove out of the airport, he called me. He said, Provost, do you see how Abuja is? Do you see the roads here? He said, a black man can do it if they want to do it. You see?
So he had seen the other places you guys were.
Yes.
And suddenly he sees this. So, and he thinks that the potential is there.
Yes.
It's just that we don't want to do it.
Yes. Why can't you do it? Why? We just don't want to do it, but we can do it. It's not rocket science. He just touched me. He said, Provost, look at the beauty, look at the flowers, look at the beauty. I don't know if they sustained it though, but he said this was in 2018. He said a black man can do it if they want to do it. And that is it with Africa. That is it with Nigeria. We can do it. It's there. No rocket science.
So how long did you serve as the vice chancellor or the provost?
For 8 years. 8 good years. You know, when I attended the orientation for being a provost, I went, 3 places in the country. And they said the average life of a provost is 4 to 5 years. That is, you serve. That is when they serve the most. Because being a provost is a very, very tough job. You are in charge of faculty, curriculum, students, affairs, managing the budget, internally, because the president goes out to seek for funding for us to spend. So it's a very tough job, And so mostly 4 to 5 years. But I served for 8 years. I tell them, get surprised, Just that, with a new president comes a new provost too, because the other president I served with wanted to move on, and so he moved on to some other things. So a new president came in, and usually
chose his own team.
Choose your own team. That is the life, But we introduced programs then, programs that will, kind of help the students.
So when you look back, what would you identify as the high point of your tenure as provost of a city University of New York?
The curriculum that we revised, we revised the curriculum, all right. The programs that we established new programs. What I did then was, the health care now, the health sector is really, the sector that is booming, growing, job opportunities. And as immigrants, coming into the U.S., my college is actually kind of majorly immigrants too, And so we had to, I tell people, I know I'm professor of English, but I have to help the students. The world is very, very competitive. And if you are a nurse, if you are in lab tech, all those things, the jobs are already there waiting, good paying jobs. And so we introduced programs in that field, to help those students to get employable jobs. And then we did some career-driven skills acquisition training for students, because career-driven programs are the programs that it should be the way. In fact, when I discuss with universities here, I want to kind of see how I could guide, how I could help them to introduce career-driven programs. Even in the English department, and English students could be self-employed through the kind of skills you impact in them. I mean, the internet is blooming, the social media. How can they use social media to help their economy instead of going there just to joke? You spend time on it. You can use that too. And then the universities could train, educate students who will now infuse some level of education, academic importance in social media. We know anybody now who has, you have a cell phone, they can do things, do skits. But once the university taps into it and starts educating students, I had written a grant with Cole City University here to come into the English department to change their curriculum to infuse skills acquisition, particularly in social media, with the Carnegie Foundation, even though we're not getting that grant. But It's something I want to have further discussions to see how I could use my knowledge to assist universities here to help our students once they graduate. You know, the level of unemployment is very high, but there are opportunities for career development, self-employment.
What you have called career-driven
programs
yes. Or courses.
Courses, yes. In fact, every course should be infused with that in this present stage.
Because there's no employment.
There's no employment, and then you have to face the reality. Every course should be infused with that. And even if there's employment, it's low paying. I mean, so you can use that to further your education. It will help to kind of bring these students out of crime, you know. So you compete with the criminals in keeping these students focused in developing a career.
You know, I'd like to talk about a lot of Nigerians leaving the country because they're in search of greener pastures. Some people have called it brain drain and all that. I'm going to talk about it. But I want to spend a little more time with you on what you have called career-driven programs and what I would also call viability of institutions, educational institutions in Nigeria. And what I mean is, for a university owned by the state, you find out that almost everything they do is subvented. You know, government has to give them money. Universities are not rich, but a lot of foreign universities are wealthy. They generate money. How can we, from your experience in the United States, at that very high level, how can you advise Nigerian universities to achieve some kind of financial autonomy or kind of financial independence or sustainability, you know, alternatives for Nigerian universities? Because that's a big challenge which has affected even the quality of the students that we produce.
Yeah, before I give you the answer, I will have to say this, you know, people have to think, not that they're not thinking, but I understand bread to eat is the first thing, but the professors have to go in and think of ways that they could generate funding. But I'll give you a practical example of what I've started doing, but we've not had traction yet with 2 universities in Nigeria, with UNN and University of Ibadan. There's what you call executive leadership program. You know, many of our politicians, even though they prefer to be that's why they will get some dollars, you know, they go to Harvard, they go to Rutgers, they go to all these big universities to acquire a certificate in leadership. All right. So what I have, you know, that is where my friendship with Dr. Uchenneku started. You know, we brought him in at the college to develop a leadership program where we get people from outside to come and take courses in leadership. The former president I referred to is an excellent educator in leadership. Excellent. And so our goal with the universities here, that is one thing a university can do, establish a certificate program in leadership where you get the politicians, the bank executives, the businessmen who are wealthy, bring them into the university. You know, we can work with their time, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and pay to get that certificate instead of going to Harvard, going to London, or offer opportunities for developing the politicians. Newly elected government chairman, the governor could say, okay, go to UNN, spend 3 weeks, I'll pay, sponsor them to be able to acquire leadership skills. Mind you, they are coming into that chairmanship with no leadership skill at all. But once you impact them, I benefited from one of those courses as provost before I became provost, and that helped me throughout my tenure. So get them to Nsukka. So Nsukka, any university at all, will organize leadership program and raise funding from there. But you have to be able to sell it to the governor. You have to be able to sell it to the businessmen. You know, the need for such certificates. So that is one aspect. They could generate a lot of funding doing that. We've tried to do that with UNN, with even Renaissance University here, with with University of Ibadan. But our people's mindset to get them to see the value of that, you know, not that they don't know the value, but they want to travel to where they will get it and get some money in their pocket, you know, going abroad, all those kind of things. But that is one aspect of doing that. You see, many of these young men, you know, roadside mechanic, want to acquire skills. You know, a university could do not think only of the bachelor's degree program. If you get to a market, many of those businessmen, many of those traders there may want to acquire skills that will help them to become better traders, better communicators.
So create more courses.
Create courses for them to
weeks, months.
You can even bring it to them. Establish a center in ENUGU here where they will come and get a certificate, a career-driven certificate to expansion, how to expand your business. The thing is that we have skilled businessmen, but with education, you could develop. And how will that help the society? The more education you acquire, the more you live happily in the society. So the Onisha trader will now have a modicum of behavior, all right? When he is driving, when he knows, so all those things will have an effect on the society. That's education. And then there's the pride that I got this certificate from this college. So the universities should be thinking about that. Even particularly, I understand the private universities here are struggling. But for them, it's even easier in the sense that the bureaucracy is less in private universities to establish such kind of programs, to help people to develop their community too, to educate the community too.
So in essence, what you're saying is that a university could look at almost all aspects, because I had opportunity of doing a fellowship at Harvard.
Yes.
And one of the things I used to tell my friend when we walked to school is that I pass doors and see courses I've never heard about.
Exactly.
You understand what I mean?
Exactly.
And when I made inquiries, these were purpose developed programs.
Yes.
Need
based,
programs. Either, a community comes. So, in essence, what you're saying is that the universities should think more of those low-hanging fruits to make them less dependent on just taking school fees and increasing them and all that.
Another example I could give you, they can go to the bank. It could be any bank at all right? Speak with the MD, develop need-based courses so that every 3 quarters, every 3 months, every 6 months. And also, this is from doing this, you can get endowments. Somebody might come to say, okay, I want to endow this chair so that you'll be able to
that
train
is actually
these
an
kids.
area I'd like you to talk about.
Yes.
How could the universities change the mindset of rich Nigerians to be able to support the universities through this kind of endowments? Because I learned that most professorial chairs are created by endowment, by families, by organizations. What would be your advice to the universities in Nigeria to tap into this?
My advice first is that you have to have a track record. You have to start doing things in an area that might interest that rich businessman, that rich person. So if you are developing community youth, offering some courses, impacting skills in them, and then you go to this person. We have very benevolent, rich Nigerian businessmen. We have very many of them. So when they see things that you are doing, when they see that track record, they will say, okay, I will invest $100 million this year for you to train youths in my community. It could be targeted to a particular community. So establish a track record. Do something that you use to sell, to say, look, we are doing this, but we want to expand. So if you can help us to endow a chair, a professor, whose job will be now to do this. So do something first, establish a track record, and then sell it to the businessmen. One thing is that our mindset is not, we think that those things are not that necessary because it is not impactful in the community. But show the areas that you have impacted the community and go to the businessman and tell him to redirect your thinking, your funding towards what we are doing. And so you might endow a particular chair in this field, and that chair, that person, that professor will now undertake it on himself to develop the area that you want him to develop. It won't be easy though, because our mindset, the way we think. But once you do things, you go to the businessman, you go to the bank executives, you go to governments, you go to corporations, I think, achieve some measure of success in doing that.
I know that there are a lot of universities in the United States in technology, engineering. They come with patents for inventions.
Yes.
Is it not something that can be done here too?
It can be. That's what I'm saying. You have to establish the fact that you can do it. You have to prove that you can do it. As provost of Medgar Evers College, the State University of New York, most of the money, discretionary money that I can spend, comes from that kind of funding. So you show that, the community is in need of students who drop out a lot, or in need of, some kind of civic duties. And so we get money, we apply, we write a grant, and say, okay, this is what we want to do. And you demonstrate that you can do it. All right. And so that is something that the universities are not tapping into. We tried to run this program with Dr. Oku at Ibadan, with, in fact, outreach to the speaker. In fact, somebody went to the vice president. You have the House of Assembly, a whole House of Assembly. These people come in with no leadership skill whatsoever. At times, it's the much they know. I say, come, just 1 week, we'll offer some leadership skills, impact it in them. But of course, you have to pay, which is peanuts to what they can do. But it's kind of difficult to get traction to do that.
Because sometimes I look at this Igbo boy system.
Yes.
And I'm wondering if a university would create a program because most of them would have done secondary school.
Yes.
To do that, and create a program where they can be certificated for 6 months or 3 months, and fine-tune the practical thing they have done. That kind of program would be, will bring a lot of money for universities.
When you talked about need-based courses, need-based programs, that is what the community has been doing. All right. So one thing with our development is that it just stagnates, just there. But the university could take that in, as you just said, then infuse some academic, some learning, some practical things into it, and elevate it, and it grows. So that is what a course that could be brought into the university to develop, and then look at other areas, to other things that we do in the community, bring it into the university. That is actually what the university should be doing for the community. Bring it in, and then get that not only for those ones there, even for your graduates. There's a program we established at the university there, where any student who graduates from this college must get a certified job-seeking program, a certified career-driven program. Even if you are an English major, you have to take a career-driven program that you can, branch into, that will lead you into immediate employment. Even though, as I left, provost, it's not the priority of this, so I do not know where it is now. But it's something also, the graduates too, your graduates could also take that course, because when they go, it will be part of expanding their horizon in terms of job seeking. An English student can even start in the community organizing such things that you just said now, that Igbo boy system. There are many, many things that the Igbo culture has that we can use to make money, sustain the university, and develop the community.
Okay, I wish we'll have hours to talk with you.
Yes.
But let's see what we can get in this little time that we have. Brain drain.
Yes.
The economic situation in the country. the high level of unemployment has made a lot of our graduates, our best brains, look for greener pastures. And some people think it's even affecting our development. What are your thoughts, and what will be the best approach to stop this brain drain in Nigeria?
No, I mean, and that is when you go to see the achievement of Nigerians, of Igbos outside of the US, you will marvel. The highest educated in the US. You go to universities, those who are making money. You go to whatever area of business, of life. They are all there, all right, and they are doing very well. The thing is this, so the answer is just right there. The government has to develop a system. The government has to be efficient. The government has to create opportunities. It has to do the work that they are set out to do, all right? So if you create an environment where there are opportunities, people will stay. I wouldn't have left but for the opportunity, and nobody will want to not go where there are opportunities, all right? And so government has to create an enabling environment for people to stay and to work and to earn a decent living. That is one very major thing. The government has to. Once you create it, one thing is that, in places like Nigeria, we depend on government for 100% funding. I'm not saying that government has to fund everything. Create an enabling environment.
What can people like you do to point most of these brains outside back to Nigeria? Like a solution-based initiative. Yes, Nigeria has its challenges. Yes, Nigeria does not have the good environment. Yes. How can people like you, with the kind of expertise and experience you have, how can you start pointing our people back to direction? I mean, in that direction of we need to help our country.
Yes. They know this, and I can tell you they want to come back home.
Because a lot of them have made all the money they need to make.
Yes, but the environment, that's what I said, you have to create an enabling environment, an environment that will enable them.
Give me an idea.
So many of them have...
Give me an idea of what
for example, within the universities or within the area. In fact, one example is right there, insecurity. Let's just place that. Somebody wants to establish a business in Nigeria, in Igbo land, in my hometown. How can he? I mean, that is basic. How can he? It's quite impossible. I came home for a burial ceremony. I can barely stay. I hide. So how can you invest in that? So that environment. If you create it, some of them have come back home, but after 3, 4, 5 years, they'll be so frustrated they will rush back again. So that environment is not. People really want to come. I want to. Part of my outreach now is to see the universities I can work with. I want to come and stay for 1 year sabbatical leave, and that will be a precursor for me to want to start coming back home. All right. And so if the environment is there, if there is insecurity, if there is the opportunity, for them to come back, you give people the free hand to be able to help to advance the cause of a society. They will come. They will come. I can assure you that. And creating that strategic partnership, like the one we created with Alvan, but it's not sustained. Alvan University of Education. So it's not sustained. It's one way of doing that. And part of what I want to do is, I would like to do that, sabbatical here, creating partnerships with all those, with the universities and with Nigerians in the diaspora, so that they can come back home to be able to, invest. And once you create it, they will come. They will come. If you create that environment, create strategic partnerships for them to come home and to do work, they will do that. But like you said, practical solution. Yes, what is practical? What is practical?
I mean, is there way high-end people like you? Forgive me, but what I mean, it's people that have achieved the level of career that you have achieved, is there a way people like you can formalize a relationship with the governments in Nigeria? Do you have like a body that it's trying to, partner with government to share some of these ideas?
Yes, there are some bodies, but like I said, that is really one of the goals. That is really one of the reasons why I come home very often now, to be able to, have that inroad into governorship. It's not easy in Nigeria to I do not know, something that is so easy, it's made difficult. You want to have a conversation with people in government, all right? It's not, you have to go through here, you get frustrated. By the time you finish getting that appointment, 3 or 4 weeks is over and you want to rush home. So it is a mission of mine, really, to do what you've just said, so that we get into government, let them see the opportunities, let them see the reasons why people will come back home to help to build the society, but not that to invest too into the society, but the government has to, like I always use this word, enabling environment. I've been trying with Dr. Eko to get into some top universities, get into government. We get into those people, but the sustenance of the discussion, the implementation is the problem. So after some time you get frustrated, you leave, but people like me are not getting frustrated. I see the hope in Nigeria, I see the potential in Nigeria, despite the insecurity, despite the corruption, despite the level of government decadence. We see that, but I see hope in Nigeria too.
Because I was actually going to talk more about the Nigerian challenges. I mean, for people like you in the diaspora, when you look towards home, when you visit, when you come up with great ideas that you think will be good for your country, what are the frustrations? What are the challenges? What comes to your mind?
Number one, the takers, the buyers of these ideas, as they think about your ideas, they are thinking of how will this idea generate money for my pocket. The level of corruption is so much. He's thinking of how can we. I know when I went to Abuja to discuss with a very senior government official, after discussing, he said, these things now you have to bring, when you bring this guy and all these things, you have to know how to put some money in our pocket, what will come from there, what percentage, that kind of discussion. I didn't come with money to invest. I came with ideas, all right? And so that is a very major challenge. That is a very major challenge. The level of bureaucracy, which is fueled by corruption, impedes progress, impedes what we want to come and do. And so you get frustrated at the end. Everybody is thinking of not the program, not the success of the program. They are thinking of
what they will get
from the pocket. And that is what's inside the back of their mind. Anything you are saying is blah, 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 blah.
Okay, we are running short of time, but one of the accusations that have been made about people in diaspora is funding non-state actors that are causing mayhem, that are, funding killings, all in the name of agitation for one thing or the other. It's an accusation. So I'm asking, do you guys care to hear that most of you outside Igbo land, outside Nigeria, are the ones that are making funds available to non-state actors to make life difficult for the Nigerians that you, forgive me, you guys, like you say in the US, keep telling us that you're thinking about every day?
Yes. And that's I agree with you totally, Not only making life miserable for Nigerians, for themselves too. Because when we hold these discussions, I tell them, you are funding this Biafran agitation, but you can come home. You cannot come home and sleep in your father's house because of insecurity, because of what you are funding.
So what would you think would be the best way to go about this?
The best way to go about it is for them to stop, we try to educate them, all right? Agitating for Biafra, this is not how to agitate for Biafra. You have handed over the thing to criminal elements, to hoodlums. They use you under the gap of that. So stop doing that. There are many forms of agitation. Those who have agitated successfully in Ireland did not agitate by killing their own people.
You were talking about the Sinn Féin.
The Sinn Féin. You know, what they did was that I never heard of any Sinn Féin going to their own home base, in their own village, to kidnap people, to kill people that you want to free. You go to you create impact by those you want to wrest that from. So why are you funding this? So stop the funding. I understand now the funding is drying low, and that is why it will work. You know, the funding.
So they need to change their style.
They need to change their mindset. They need to change their mindset. And then one thing that when I go back, I think about that. All those people who are funding this thing, get the awareness of the government over there that these people are promoting terrorism
back home.
And once they become on their feet, once they get into them, they will stop. It's not Nigeria.
Let me conclude by asking you, how do people like you, your families, the Igbo community, the Yoruba community in the diaspora, how do you connect with our culture? How do you connect with our tradition? How do you connect with our way of life?
You know, as an Igbo man, we love our culture. We love Igbo Amaka. We love who we are. And so we organize community-based organizations. Despite my achievements, despite where I am, I'm the secretary of my local union, R&D Zogo Patriotic Union. I'm their secretary. I do a lot of community work. We organize Ikeji Festival. We organize things for we try to get our kids, children, which is challenging to get into our culture. So we love our culture. We organize, we meet every month, all right? We meet every month, or every month we go to each other's homes, eat, drink, and commune with each other and discuss security at home, discuss development at home too. And so that has helped that connection in Igbo land.
Oh, great. And how often do you come home to enjoy the original Ikeji?
Yes, I come home every let me just say every Ikeji since 2021. I come home every year. I didn't come home this last year because of insecurity too. Insecurity is a problem. Really, we have to tackle insecurity. It's really
in the country.
It's really killing development.
Well, we'll end our conversation. It's been really a pleasure.
Thank you.
Talking with you, Prof. And one of the words I want to take away that I would want to push is this career-driven programs. Necessitated programs.
Yes.
Programs that can make graduates employable even outside what they have read primarily.
Correct.
Professor Augustine Okereke, I must thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
It's been really a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you.
Well, I've been speaking with Professor Augustine Okereke, who is a professor of English at the City University of New York, former provost, or what we call vice chancellor of the City University of New York. Former dean, former this, and as we say, former that.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm Vin Martin Obiorilo in Enugu, Nigeria. Thanks for watching, and let's do this again very soon.
Thank you.
We are local.
International communities why the main market is in chaos. People
We are national.
Those in support of this motion as amended, say aye. Aye. We have taken the vote by default.
We are international.
Israeli airstrikes.
Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment.
Signature TV, news in your pocket. We are local.
International communities observing every
Why the main market is in chaos. People are
We are national.
Those in support of this motion as amended, say aye. Aye.
We have taken the vote by default.
We are international.
Israeli airstrikes. Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.
Welcome to Global News on Signature TV. I am Christopher Lele. In the headlines, Peter Obi confirms his exit from ADC. Heavy flooding wreaks havoc in Nkwere Ingi community caused by overflow of Ozom River. Israel issues new forced displacement orders in southern Lebanon, and China blocks U.S. sanctions against 5 Teapot refineries. Details in a moment.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking, events occur, and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
The 2023 presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, and his counterpart of the New Nigeria People's Party, NNPP, Rabiu Kwankwaso, are hiding out of the African Democratic Congress, ADC, after an all-night meeting with the stakeholders of the Obedient and Kwankwasia movement on Friday. The two politicians decided to join Senator Siraki Dixon in the Nigerian Democratic Congress, NDC. Correspondent Wabweze Njoku reports that Peter Obi is expected to officially announce the new platform to the Obedient movement in the next 48 hours.
Knowing what the system is plotting against the opposition, particularly against Peter Obi's candidacy, because who they are afraid of, clearly, the panic mood that was activated by the presidency all this while clearly shows who they are afraid of. They have seen the result of 2023, and their conscience has told them clearly that this is who won the election. And should he be on the ballot, that Tinubu's days in the villa will be numbered.
As at the time of this report, the Kwankwasia leadership, which has been in Abuja, the Nigerian capital, has headed back to Kano to populate the Nigerian Democratic Congress, the new platform on which Musa Kwankwaso wants to contest the 2027 presidential election.
The Kwankwasias have moved. The Kwankwasias have moved. They're not in ADC anymore, because this place is not conducive for us to stay and achieve the okayness of Nigeria.
The Obedients are doing the same, even though they say belonging to a party counts less than promoting the P2B candidacy on the ticket of any political party. But why will two political heavyweights who could determine the outcome of the 2027 presidential election resign from their party after the party had secured what looked like a major legal victory at the Supreme Court?
Of course, I reached out to my leader, that is Mr. Peter Obi, who I also told at the very beginning, before he joined the ADC, that I hope there is a deal with the national leader of the ADC, because you can't take it away. The national leader of the ADC is Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. If there's no deal with him, that he will put the interests of the Nigerian people forward above his personal interests, then it will be a waste of time.
Two issues seem to have created the current situation in the ADC. The first is the indecision of the party to clearly zone its presidential ticket to the south. This would have been a sure bet for an Obi Kwankwaso ticket. The second is the refusal of former Vice President Atiku Abubakar to accept a north-south zoning arrangement. He has insisted on contesting the ticket of his party in defiance of arguments that the party needs to produce a winning ticket.
Are we talking about exiting as followers? Oh yes. In fact, I can affirm to you that personally, ADC is no more home to people like me. So, and I know that in the next 48 hours or 24 hours, it will be clearer that the next destination will be announced by the leader himself. Let me give you an insider view.
There are also allegations that Atiku Abubakar, who has contested the presidential election many times over, may in fact not be seeking to win, but to create a contest that guarantees victory for incumbent President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
But what is Atiku aspiring for is the turn of southern Nigeria. We still have one term, 4 years to go. So if he's not working for Tinubu, who is, by the way, his friend and his business partner, why is he in the race? He should give way, support Obi, so that we can win the election. But he's insisting clearly, even his followers are all arrogant about it, insisting that it's Atiku or nothing. So for me, it would actually mean Atiku may just necessarily be working for his friend because he won't win the election.
The formation of the Nigeria Democratic Congress NDC by Bayelsa State Senator Siriake Dixon may not have been a blind political move, as suggestions arise that the Attorney General of the Federation may not withdraw the case seeking to deregister the ADC and some other parties. The NDC could become the party of refuge to which P2B and Kwankwaso could run, get shelter, and take part in the 2027 presidential election. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has said that he is a stubborn politician willing to confront opposition in the 2027 election. The current situation in the ADC may well play into his political scheme to guarantee him victory in the election. In Abuja, I'm Wabos Njako for Signature.
Meanwhile, the former Anambra governor on Sunday announced his departure from the African Democratic Congress, confirming the report which Signature TV exclusively broke on Saturday about his leaving the coalition. In a statement shared on X, Obi said his decision followed deep personal reflection and silent pains he had been carrying while navigating Nigeria's political environment, citing worsening internal crisis within the party and broader national challenges. He described the country's system as increasingly toxic, saying it had become marked by intimidation, insecurity, suspicion, and discouragement, which he argued are often undermines sincere public service. Obi also said he had been subjected to unfair criticism and internal pressure within political spaces he previously joined in search of solidarity and reform-minded leadership. He clarified that his departure from the ADC was not due to personal issues with the party leadership, including former Senate President David Mark or former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, both of whom he said he continues to respect. According to him, his decision was driven by what he described as the infiltration, unresolved political conflicts, and recurring legal and internal disputes that have distracted the party from national issues. He regretted that the same Nigerian state and its agents that created unnecessary crisis and hostility within the Labour Party that forced him to leave now appear to be finding their way into the ADC instead of focusing on deeper national problems and playing politics built more on control and exclusion than on service and nation building. The Special Advisor on Information and Strategy to President Bola Tinubu, Bayo Onanuga, has criticized former Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi over his confirmation of his exit from the ADC. In a post shared on social media on Sunday, Onanuga described Obi's actions as a continuation of what he called a pattern of political inconsistency, suggesting that the former Anambra State governor frequently shifts positions. He further criticized Obi's political strategy, alleging that he avoids strong competition within party structures, describing him as an opportunistic fellow who cannot fight Atiku Abubakar or Rotimi Amechi for the ticket. Onanuga also accused Obi of deflecting blame, claiming that he often criticizes the government without engaging in self-assessment. The African Democratic Congress has released its timetable for the conduct of its 2026 primary elections, including dates for nomination, screening, appeals, and primaries across various elective positions. A statement issued on Sunday by the party's National Publicity Secretary, Bolaji Abdullahi, said the sale of nomination forms will take place from May 5 to May 10, 2026, while the submission of completed forms is scheduled for May 11 to May 13, 2026. Screening of aspirants will take place from May 14 to May 15, 2026, followed by the publication of screening results on May 17, 2026. The party appeal slated to be heard between May 18 and May 19, 2026, and the final list of cleared aspirants to be released on May 20, 2026. According to the statement, primary elections will commence on May 21, 2026, with elections for state houses of assembly, House of Representatives, and Senate seats holding simultaneously at the ward level, and the governorship primaries taking place on May 22, 2026, and the presidential primary scheduled for May 25, 2026. The party pegged the presidential nomination form at 100 million naira, governorship at 50 million naira, Senate at 20 million naira, House of Representatives at 10 million naira, and State House of Assembly at 3 million naira, while introducing concessional rates, offering a 50% discount for youths and a 25% discount for women and persons with disabilities. The people of Nsukka geopolitical zone of Enugu State, including political stakeholders, traditional leaders, youths, women, and other groups, have unanimously endorsed President Bola Tinubu and Governor Peter Mbah for a second term in office ahead of the 2027 general elections. The endorsement came during a mega rally held at the Nsukka Township Stadium, where the zone also donated 102 million naira for the purchase of Governor Mbah's nomination form. Correspondent Chinemerem Ikegbunam reports that Governor Mbah used the opportunity of the visit to flag off major road projects in the zone, totaling about 70 kilometers.
A mammoth crowd filled the Ogu local government secretariat field as political leaders, traditional rulers, and stakeholders from across Enugu West gathered to make a decisive political statement. The event, marked by chants, solidarity songs, and symbolic gestures, culminated in an unanimous endorsement of President Bola Tinubu and Governor Peter Mbah for a second term in office.
I'm telling you that Lord Wagaishu. And unanimously endorse our performing governor for a second term in office. Those in favor of this motion say aye. Those in favor of this motion say aye. The ayes have it.
To demonstrate the commitment, the zone presented a check of 100 million naira to Governor Mbah to support his nomination process. Speakers at the rally emphasized that the endorsement was driven by performance, not politics.
Excellency, 4 years after today, as I propose vigorously, I will campaign for you vigorously. Your Excellency, politics is adversarial and politics is about democracy in Nigeria is multi-party. And every party pushes their own ideas. Today, you are
the leader of our party and the governorship candidate. Ndebe ayi ni ogun sile kama ti to yojo ya tabu nke tabu ni to yojo. Ndebe ayi ọba yẹn. Ọba kan ti fi e. Enugu West say they are comfortable with you. Enugu West are also very comfortable that you just have one thing. That with you we are safe. But personally, as a former commissioner for works, I don't want to talk about your strides in education because what you are doing in education is completely transformative. For the first time, students from Enugu will be equipped with world-class education to make them to compete and stand head and shoulders to students from Japan, from Germany, from China, from India. Your Excellency, this is transformative.
The endorsement motions were moved and seconded by federal and state lawmakers, with backing from traditional rulers, political leaders, and grassroots stakeholders across the 5 local government areas in the zone. Addressing the crowd, Governor Peter Mbai expressed appreciation for the overwhelming support, describing the rally as historic. He highlighted ongoing collaborations with the federal government and pointed to improvements in economic indicators and infrastructure development.
You don't need to go to the UK to run a PET scan. Do you know where you have to go to? International Hospital ENUGU. That's where you have to go to. International Hospital ENUGU. And I'm sure you followed the news.
Political observers say the endorsement signals early momentum in political activities in Enugu State, with Enugu West positioning itself as a decisive bloc. For now, the message from Ogu is clear, which is that continuity remains a preferred option for 2027 in Enugu. Chinemere.
Flooding has once again exposed the vulnerability of rural infrastructure in parts of Enugu State, throwing affected communities into agony. The Ozom River at Nkwerenye in Oji River local government area and the bridge, which links several communities including Ogwoba, Achi and Iye, has been submerged, leaving residents stranded and economic activities paralyzed.
Residents of Nkwerenye in Oji River local government area have been thrown into distress following severe flooding around the Ozom Bridge, cutting off movement and disrupting daily life. The situation grounded economic, social, and educational activities in the area, as what used to be a vital link road has now turned into a danger zone as floodwaters from a swollen river submerged the entire area. The flooding has not only rendered the area impassable, but has also spread across adjoining roads and farmlands, destroying crops and economic trees, which serve as major sources of livelihood for residents. Farmers in the area lament heavy losses as hectares of farmland have been washed away, raising fears of food shortages and worsening economic hardship in the community. The situation has also left commuters stranded, particularly those traveling between Ugwoba and Inyi, as the flood has completely cut off access along the road. Residents said the once busy corridor is now deserted, with commercial activities brought to a standstill. For school children, the impact is even more severe, as many have been forced to stay at home, as parents fear for their safety, citing the risk of drowning while attempting to cross the flooded area. Community members are calling for urgent intervention to prevent further damage and restore access to the affected communities. They are appealing to the federal and Enugu state governments and relevant emergency agencies to provide immediate relief materials and commence rehabilitation of the bridge and surrounding roads. They are also calling for the intervention of their representatives in the National Assembly, saying that unless urgent action is taken, the situation could worsen, further isolating Nkwerenye and neighboring communities. There are fears that more communities could be cut off as the rains persist, unless swift intervention is carried out to address the growing humanitarian and economic crisis.
The House of Representatives Committee on Infectious Diseases has canvassed for the streamlining of utilization of grants for the control of HIV/AIDS, tuberculosis, malaria, and others by principal and sub-recipients from Global Fund to avoid duplication. Chairman of the committee, Amobi Oga, made the call in Abuja during the committee's oversight visit to some of the principal recipients of Global Fund's grants, including the Institute of Human Virology, Family Health International, and the Catholic Relief Services, while commending the recipients for their concerted efforts in the response against HIV/AIDS, tuberculosis, malaria, and other infectious diseases. Amobi stated that all mobilized resources must be judiciously expended and accounted for.
We are investigating. We also need to use this opportunity to streamline and put things in order. Yes. Because, I keep blaming the ministry. The reason is because the parliament don't know what you're doing. And there is no way we can be spirit to know where to come in. To even know when government is not doing their own part. Because that is the essence of National Assembly.
At the Institute of Human Virology, its CEO, Dr. Patrick Dakim, who received the committee virtually, in his address said the visit has provided an opportunity for the committee to get to understand the successes that have been going on in the area of HIV, TB, and malaria, as well as where the House can play a critical role. The committee told the organizations to provide it with statement of their bank accounts and other relevant documents about all procurement processes. Nigeria's government has summoned South Africa's top diplomat in Abuja over attacks on foreigners in the country. Spokesman of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Kimiebi Ebianfa, who disclosed this in a statement in Abuja, said the South African Acting High Commissioner is set to meet with Nigerian officials Monday. Discussions will center around documented instances of mistreatment of Nigerian citizens and attacks on their businesses. South Africa has long been a destination for both legal and undocumented African workers, but saddled with an unemployment rate of over 30%. It has been repeated spurts of xenophobic and anti-migrant protests, including renewed violence in recent weeks. According to official statistics, there are more than 3 million foreigners living in South Africa, or 5.1% of the population. Hezbollah deploys a potent new weapon designed to evade Israeli detection. And British woman wins right to sterilization after exposing double standards in UK health service. Details from the international scene.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking, events occur, and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
Israel's military has issued new displacement orders to residents in town and villages in southern Lebanon, including areas beyond its current zone of occupation, despite a truce meant to halt fighting with the armed group Hezbollah. The warning covers more than 10 villages and towns, including several in the district of Nabateh that lie north of the Litani River, south of which Israel has stationed troops. Lebanon's state-run national news agency later reported a series of Israeli strikes across southern Lebanon, including on towns not mentioned in the displacement order. In the past week, 2 soldiers and an army contractor had been killed by drone attacks in the area, and dozens of soldiers wounded. The U.S. has called for direct peace negotiations between Lebanon and Israel, but Lebanese President Joseph Aoun said on Wednesday that Israel should fully implement the ceasefire before the talks can take place. Meanwhile, the explosive-laden quadcopter skimmed above the rooftops of southern Lebanon, navigating with precision between bombed-out buildings and along dirt roads. The drone gave its operator a clear first-person picture of its target, an Israeli tank with soldiers standing nearby. At the top of the picture in white letters were 2 words, "Bomb ready." The quadcopter is a fiber-optic drone, experts say, a weapon Hezbollah has increasingly used with deadly accuracy. The drones are difficult to stop and even harder to detect, giving their operators a high-resolution view of the target without emitting any signal that could be jammed. The drones are immune to communication jamming, and in the absence of any electronic signature, it is also impossible to discover the location from which they were launched. In a sleekly produced Hezbollah video from Sunday, the quadcopter drone, weighing no more than a few kilometers, hits its target, as the Israeli soldiers appear to be completely unaware of its approach. According to the Israel Defense Forces, the attack killed 19-year-old Sergeant Idan Fuchs and injured several others. Hezbollah then launched more drones at a rescue helicopter that arrived at the scene to evacuate the wounded troops. Fiber optic drones are effective in their simplicity. Instead of a wireless signal that controls the drone remotely, the fiber optic cable hand wires the drone directly to its operator. China has announced an injunction to block U.S. sanctions placed on 5 Chinese refiners accused of buying oil from Iran. The U.S. sanctions announced by the Department of the Treasury late last month bar the refiners from the U.S. financial system and seek to penalize anyone doing business with these firms. In a statement on Saturday, China's Ministry of Commerce said the sanctions improperly restrict business between Chinese enterprises and third countries in violation of international law and the basic norms governing international relations. The Commerce Ministry said it had issued a prohibition order stipulating that the sanctions should not be recognized, enforced, or complied with, calling the order a move to safeguard national sovereignty, security, and development interests. It said the order blocked U.S. measures against Hengli Petrochemical, Dalian Refinery, and 4 other so-called teapot refineries: Shandong Jinsheng Petrochemical Group, Hebei Shanghai Chemical Group, Shuangguan Linqing Petrochemical, and Shandong Shenqing Chemical. A British woman who was denied permanent birth control through the UK's National Health Service on the grounds she might regret the decision has won her case with the country's health ombudsman after a 10-year battle. Leah Sparsova, a psychologist from Oxfordshire, spent years trying to obtain sterilization on the NHS, when at the same time her health provider funds vasectomies for men. The Parliamentary and Health Service Ombudsman, which investigates complaints from the NHS, determined that a local health body was denying women, but not men, funding for sterilization. Sparsova raised the complaint after she was denied a request for sterilization funding from the Buckinghamshire, Oxfordshire, and Berkshire West Integrated Care Board, which covers an area of southern England. And that's it on the international news.
Coming up next is sports news. Nigeria's under-20 women's team, the Falconets, recorded a 2-0 victory over Malawi on Saturday in the first leg of their FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup qualifying tie at the Remo Stars Stadium. The hosts took the lead through an own goal before Kindness Ifeanyi doubled Nigeria's advantage later in the match, putting the Falconets in a strong position ahead of the return leg. Nigeria, a consistent presence at every edition of the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup since its inception, will carry a 2-goal cushion into the second leg in Malawi. The Falconets advanced to the stage after defeating Senegal 3-1 on aggregate in the previous round, while Malawi progressed with a commanding 6-2 aggregate victory over Guinea-Bissau. The winner of the 2-legged tie will secure qualification for the 2026 FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup, scheduled to take place in Poland in September. Nigeria's senior national team, the Super Eagles, will discover their opponent for the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations qualifying series on May 19. The Confederation of African Football, CAF, has confirmed that the draw ceremony for the AFCON 2027 qualifiers will be conducted on May 19, 2026, ahead of the qualification campaign. A total of 48 countries, including co-hosts Kenya, Tanzania and Uganda, will compete for qualification spots for the continental tournament tagged AFCON Pamoja 2027. In tennis, Marta Kostyuk claimed the Women's Madrid Open title after overpowering Mira Andreeva in an impressive straight sets victory. The 23-year-old Ukrainian secured a career-best victory, her first WTA 1000 title after sealing a 6-3-7-5 win over Andreeva, and marked the win with a backflip. The two players, whose countries have been at war since Russia's invasion in 2022, did not shake hands at the net after the match. Kostyuk finished her victory speech with "Glory to God and glory to Ukraine." In cricket, Yorkshire staged a spirited fight back on day 2 of the county championship match against Somerset at Towton. Seamer Jack White played a starring role, returning figures of 4-41 from 16 overs as Somerset were bowled out for 274, losing their last 7 wickets for just 73 runs in 28 overs. In form, Tom Abel registered 50 and with smeared an unbeaten 36, but the morning session belonged to the visitors, who bowled and fielded with intensity to restrict their opponents to a first innings lead of 112. In golf, Cameron Young remains the Cadillac Championship leader after 2 days, having backed up his sensational first-round display with another eye-catching performance to sit on 13 under. Young finally made his first bogey of the week, but it barely put a dent into his lead going into the weekend. He shot an 8-under par 64 on Thursday as the PGA Tour returned to the Blue Monster course at Trump National Doral in Miami for the first time since 2016, and followed that up with a 67 on Friday to remain the frontrunner on 13 under and take a 5-shot lead. That's Sport News on
That's the news this hour on Signature TV. I am Christopher Lele. Thanks for watching.
We are local.
The international community is observing every
Just finished the game. Why the main market is in chaos. People
We are national.
Those in support of this motion as amended, say aye. Aye.
We have taken the vote by default.
We are international.
Israeli airstrikes. Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.
Signature TV, news in your pocket. Signature TV, news in your pocket.
Shadrach and Pastor Solomon, thank you very much. Today is the day that the Lord has made, and we do rejoice in it. What a privilege to be in the house of the Lord. When we wake up this morning, we are healthy. All our body is working the way God purposed it to work. And we come to his house to worship him, to give him all the honor, all the adoration, because he's a good God that sustains us all the time, provides us everything that we need. What a marvelous God we have. Let's pray. Father, our heavenly God, we thank you for bringing us here together. Give us a word. Give us something that we can walk away with. Give us something that will lift our life up as we move through the week. Give us words that the world will see in us as we apply those words. And they will say, yes, indeed, these are the true children of God. Father, this we ask in the mighty name of Jesus. Amen. Say amen. Thank you for coming today. We have to get into the word. Every day we come together, we are here to learn some aspect of the word that will help us in life. That is the main reason that we come here. Come here to worship him, to thank him for what he has done in our life, and also to open our heart to learn few things from his word that will help us in our daily life. Every one of us, when you meet someone new, you want to know how that person is. You want to find out what that person can do and what that person cannot do before you throw yourself into him or her as a friend. You have to study the person and get to know the person. You will try to know all the things that displeases the person and those things that makes the person happy. You also want to learn his behavior, how he acts. Is he a good person or is he a bad person? We raise up our antenna very hard and very cautious of that when we come to meet someone that we just come across with. How much more when it comes to our God? What do we do? When we come to know God, accept God as our Lord and Savior, what do we do? Do we make the same level of effort to know our God, to know how God works, how what makes God act and what makes God not to act. These are the things that we learn when we come to church. And in GWC, we always try to illuminate those words to you, that whenever you live here, you will have at least one thing that you would say you have learned. I said it is one of the reasons, but it's not all the reason why we come together. We also come together because God instructs us to do so. God wants us to come together to fellowship with one another, and learn something. Let's go to Hebrew chapter 10 verse 23. The media illuminate that for us. Hebrew chapter 10 verse 23. So you can see what I am talking about. Hebrew chapter 10 verse 23. Are you there? Is it there in the screen, the media? All right. It says, let us hold fast the confession of our faith without wavering. For he who promised is faithful. And let us consider one another in order to stir up love and good work. This is the reason why we come together. Continue. Not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together, as is the manner of some, for exalting one another, and so much the more as you see the day approaches. So you can see God wants us to come together like this. Because when you are here together, you are learning something, and you see other people who are learning, and encourage one another to learn. Not only to learn, but to live the word when you go out of here. Take the word with you. When you go out of here. Our topic today is knowing God personally. Knowing God personally. Why do I say personally? It's because the journey of Christian life is individualistic. There is no cotel. I can't be going and feel that, yes, I have my family, I intercede for my family, but the journey is individualistic. What I do is me that knows, and my God that knows what I do. My wife sometimes don't know what I do. Sometimes I don't know what she does. All the time. I remember my late mother reminded me that when you come to denying things, I can only deny the things that I know. And she pointed out that she can only deny for somebody that is still in the stomach, that has not been born. That you can say, yes, that person has not done anything wrong. But if as soon as the child is born, you carry the child at the back, you don't know what he's using his hands to get. So I'm trying to emphasize the Christian journey, how individualistic it is. Knowing God personally, it is your duty. You have to search for the Lord, for God, discover how he is. That's why it says in Hebrew 11:6, it said, Hebrew 11:6. I don't know whether it's in my notes, but can we have it, media? Hebrew 11:6. It's talking about diligent searching of the Lord. He said, without faith, it is impossible to please him. Please him is please God. For he who comes to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of those who diligently search him. He, when you say he, mean men and women. That's how the word of God uses. When it say a man, it means men and women. He said he rewards those who diligently search for him. I searched for God. I searched for God. I was a time confused. Didn't know what is right. At a point, I stopped going to church. But one day, I gave myself to Christ, and everything changed from then. And I hope that is the same for all of us that are here. So how do we do that? How do we know God personally? One is by reading of the Word, reading the Bible, constantly reading the Bible. Why? Because God is, the Word of God is God. You can't separate God from the Word. That is why if you say you know God and you do not apply His Word, probably you don't. You may feel good about where you are, because those who know God apply the Word. Let us go to Joshua 1. Let's see what he is saying over there. God is telling us. Joshua 1, chapter 8. Joshua chapter 1, verse 8. It said, this book of the law shall not depart from your mouth, but you shall meditate in it day and night, that you may observe to do according to all that is written in it. For then you will make your way prosperous, and then you will have good success. Good success. Because there is bad success. There is bad success. And sometimes in our society, we cannot differentiate good success and bad success. When somebody looted money that doesn't belong to him, and he came out and buys so many things and shared so many things, we call it success. But it's not success, because down the line of life, you find out that everything will melt away vanity. Good success stays with you. Good success stays with you and passes to generation to generation. Your children and children will benefit from your success. Sometimes my heart burns when I see great men in the society. And when they pass away, everything passes away. That shouldn't be your portion in Jesus' name. You should possess the inheritance of God with your obedience to his word and pass it on to your children. And the next generation will see the seed of you. That is why he differentiates. He said, he called it good success. For then you will make your way prosperous, and then you will have good success. There are good and bad success. That's what he's telling us here. But what you have to take from this is, he said, this book of the law. What is this book of the law? It means this Bible, the word of God, that you should read it, meditate on it day and night. Can you believe that? Do you do that? It's not only for the pastor to meditate on the word so that they will come on the pulpit and preach. In your daily life, you will meditate on the word and put that word into your heart. I will tell you why very soon. It's because your success depends on it. Your success depends on it. Because when you meditate on it, you will know it. This book of the law shall not depart from your mouth. You should meditate on it day and night, so that you will be prosperous and have good success. That's what he said about his word. So what do we do? We want you to, not only when you meditate on the word, but speak it. Speak the word that you have learned. And how can you speak the word if you have not meditated on it and have it inside you? You cannot do that. I have said it here before, that every situation in life is found in the Bible. All you have to do is, whenever the situation shows up in your life, you look where in the Bible and call it out. Speak it out. Because that is, Bible said that his word, the word of God, shall not return void. God is looking for people who will be able to return the word to him. This word, you return it back to him, and he said it will not return void. That means once you return it, it must accomplish its purpose. Let me give you example. The economy is not very good. I do not have enough money to buy oil or to buy all the things that I need. In physical, looking around, the world just seems like it's closing up on you. Everything you want to do, you cannot do it because you don't have money. What do you do at that point? Which word can you illuminate in your heart? Philippians 4:19. Philippians 4:19 says, I know my God will supply all my need according to his riches and glory in Christ Jesus. How many of you know this by heart? That when things come up that way, you can say, oh my God, I know my God will supply all my need through his riches and glory by Christ Jesus. That's what he said. And you say it, that means you're returning it to him. Oh God, I know you will supply all my need through your riches and glory in Christ Jesus. The moment you say that, you will, I cannot tell you how much you will, what you're going to feel at that particular time. You will feel inside your inner heart a confidence that was not there a minute ago before you have said that word. And that confidence immediately translates to mystery of God that will unfold in your face by things happening, and those things that you would think that is impossible, you find it be impossible. Why? Because you recited the word that fits the purpose at that particular time. I am afraid going to market to buy things because of the kidnappers. You want to go somewhere. Maybe ENUGU, but you heard that the kidnappers is on the Suka Road. You are a child of God. And you know when you go there, there's market there. But you are afraid. As a child of God, you search for the word. 2 Timothy 1:7 tells us, oh God, I know you have not given me a spirit of fear. The media, please, I need you to illuminate what I am saying so that the congregation will follow. Second Timothy 1:7. He said, God has not given me spirit of fear, but has given me power, love, and sound mind. That's what this word says. Then you will say, oh, I am afraid. I say, oh, God has not given me spirit of fear. He has given me power, love, and sound mind. Once you say that, you see the strength come out of you. I remember one time, many years ago, I was in the United States, and I bought a ticket to take all my family back to Nigeria in Christmas. And they just announced that kidnappers kidnapped someone and brought the person in the church. The church is just opposite our house in the village. and murdered the person. That enough will stop you from going. That enough will tell you to cancel the ticket. You see how close that is? The church is just opposite our house. That's the church we attend in the village. I recited this word. God has not given me spirit of fear, but power, love, and sound mind. 1,000 will fall on my left, million will fall on my right, and they shall never come near me. I keep reciting it, and as I recite it, my power comes inside me, and I go ahead. Because God is looking for somebody who remembers this word, his word. And there is no way you will go and your foot will be trembled. No, because you have returned the word which he promised you already. You are getting tired because all the things you have to do. And you are feeling overwhelmed. Like, I have to pick up the kids from school. I have to do their homework because the exam is tomorrow, and I have to prepare for lesson to come and share with you. I feel overwhelmed sometimes. And I remember one morning they were so overwhelmed. I called the pastor and said, look, which normally I give them 4 to 5 days to prepare lesson. But I was very overwhelmed. I had to call the pastor, please, can you prepare a lesson and deliver today? And he did, successfully. And what he delivered is what God wanted you guys to hear that day. Because God is a mysterious person. So what do you do? Philippians 4:13. What did he tell us? The media, please. Follow me gradually. Philippians 4:13. It says, when you're overwhelmed, what do you say? The life is beating you up, and you try to get through the things. You say, oh God, I know I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Oh, listen. I quoted this to my son. He's laying down there. He wasn't feeling too well. And I told him to recite it. I said, I can do all things. I said, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And he repeated it. He repeated it. I said, okay, get ready. We're going to church. And he wake up and get ready. Though he's sleeping over there, but he's in the church. Give it up for him, please. Clap for him. So, the word of God never returned to him void. And the attitude of knowing God well is reading his word, putting it into your heart so that you'll be able to call it out in time of need. If the need come and you cannot find any word to call out, Google it. Go to Google. What did the Bible say? If I am this, you pump out and you'll be amazed what you will find. But it's better that you know it in your heart. And you do that by constant reading, diligently looking and searching the word of God. I could not sleep because I am worrying about many things. You know, worry is a sin. Worrying is a sin. Worrying is a faith in a negative direction. Worrying is a faith itself. Something you cannot change. Something you don't have control of. And you are sitting and worrying. You go to sleep, you're tossing and turning. You're supposed to use the scripture that tells you what to do. Because you know, and many times those things can come upon you. But find the word. Sometimes it comes upon me and I use the word. And once I use the word, I turn around, I fall asleep like a baby. And what is the word? Let's go to Philippians 4:6. Philippians 4:6. He said, I should not be anxious. I should not be anxious of anything. Anxious, you know, anxiousness is worrying. And because you worry, you can't get to sleep, you wake up tired, you cannot even do the work that you're supposed to do on the day because you are weak. You're paying double price. You find the scripture that deals with that, which says, be anxious for nothing, but in everything, say every, in everything. What is every comprised of all things, every problems. Your chicken, they don't lay all the eggs that it's supposed to lay. It's a problem, you know, whatever it is. He said, in everything, by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving. Do you see how God sneaked the one that we do not even pay attention to? Because when you are worried, when you are worrying, do you think you're going to think about Thanksgiving? Thanksgiving what? You are occupied worrying about so and so person that probably sleeping like a baby in his home. Maybe the person tell you, I'm going to do you whatever you want to do, and you start worrying about it. No. The child of God is free, and we are free indeed. You get the word. I should not be anxious of anything, but with prayer and supplication, I will make my request known to God. And his peace that surpasses all understanding will rest my heart. That's the promise of God. That's the promise of God. Will rest my heart. Victory in all our life comes through faith and obedience to his word. Victory in our lives comes through what? Obedience. Come through faith and obedience to his word. Faith to his word. What is faith again? Acting on what you believe. I want you to remember this because I'm going to continue to query you about it. Faith is not about the church you go to or what denomination. That's not what faith is. Faith, according to the Bible, in which we have dealt with many times, is acting on what you believe. We talked about the woman with issue of the blood who saw that Jesus was passing by, and the hope come into his mind. If I can touch the cloth, I will be healed. That is hope. But faith will be her going forward to act on it. And that's what she did. And Jesus said, who touched me? No, there's somebody that touched him with faith. Training our mind to be able to know when God is talking to us is another effort of knowing him. Last time we studied on how to renew our mind. When we renew our mind, we will have mind of Christ. Renewing our mind, you renew the mind with word of God. And when you renew the mind with word of God, you training your mind to think like Christ, to be Christ-like. Christian is Christ-like. That's why we call ourselves Christians, because we are Christ-like. We are Christ-like. Are you Christ-like? Ask yourself. Before you say, I'm a Christian, are you Christ-like? And when you train your mind, you will be able to know how God works. Knowing how God works is very, very, very important. You know, I said it before that people think that pastors have their own line of communication with God. We don't. God speaks to you the same way he speaks to us. The difference is that when God speaks, we recognize that it is God speaking, it's not our thinking. It's not my thinking. God has just talked to me. You understand? So, another way we can get to know our Lord personally is to put his word in practice. This church is known as a home for practical Christianity. Let everybody that goes to this church put God and his word in practice. And we will be blessed by it all the time. Give it up for Jesus. Thank you, Lord.
Looking for a place to worship, grow, and experience the power of God's presence? Then join us at God Breaks Worship Center, located opposite Peaceland University, ENUGU Abakaliki Expressway, Onuobanike, ENUGU State. For prayers and counseling, please call +234 707 186 0394 or +234 703 772 8392. Stay connected with us online at Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram at God Breaks Worship Center. Watch and listen to R7 every Sunday on Afia Radio 99.1 FM and Signature TV Metro Digital SLTV channel 265 and on YouTube. You can also support the work of God through your giving. Account name God Breaks Worship Center. Bank Zenith Bank Nigeria. Account number 1312329 588. God Breaks Worship Center, a place for practical Christianity.
Bright and early as the day breaks, as the newspaper headlines trail the stories that shape the day, we at Signature TV trail the headlines that trail the day. We interrogate the headlines. We analyze the stories that make the headlines.
Why it's overrated, and they even overrated themselves, and when people see it, they are insensitive of some Nigerian children who have never had what they call CBT.
With passion and emotion, we drive the conversation to change a narrative.
Let nobody be deceived by Nigerian high level of performing in agriculture export. We are still where we are.
Newspaper review on Signature TV every morning on Signature Morning, weekdays, and Signature New Day, weekends. Newspaper review on Signature TV. We do not just review the headlines.